Hello everybody, Vigo'sShadow here, and today we have a big video. I am talking another tier list. We have the Bushin Fest tier list that I'll be doing for this video. As you can see, I have a lot of characters down below. However, I'm going to reiterate this because I know a lot of you have been asking, okay, I want to see a tier list with like Shadow Festival event, all of it, all the characters. Unfortunately, I don't have all the characters because like I started this process like in October just trying to collect all the characters and um, get their info on the skills because right now you can't just go into any event unit like a list like you can't they're not even in the locked characters. They're beyond that. You can't even access them. So you can't. So for example here we have Santa's Little T's Alexia. You cannot just go and find that unit and look up the skills. I mean, if I could, I would have just done that. But, so, there is going to be a lack of all the Shadow Festival units and all the event units. But since we're having revival banners come out, I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to get all these units that have been out already, and then be caught up to um, the current and how many units there is. So once I get them all, I'll be releasing another video on top of this one that has all the characters from like the start of the game to where it is current. So I'll be making another tier list in time, but I thought I would at least release this one for Bushin Festival with what I have. So this is my full arsenal of characters. This is all what I have here, and I have it in alphabetical order, starting from, besides these two. I actually pulled these two units, a screenshot from somewhere else, in the game. So I will be going over these two units too. These are additional. I don't have info on them, but I at least know the bare minimum of their skills and how good they are in PvP. Before we go into the tier list itself, I actually do have a notepad up with some info on it, and I also have this file folder, which this is where I get all my units for. So you'll be seeing me go through this file folder, and I obviously have all the skills here so that I can assess certain characters. So you'll be going kind of following along the process with me so I can show you where I'm coming from and where I place these units, especially for PvP, because it can get a little bit complicated. So let me just go over the tier list notes that I have. So generally what you want to look for in a PvP unit for attacking units, your attacker units have the most emphasis. So, the most obvious one is going to be you want your attacking units to do a lot of damage, and you got to ask yourself, do they do a lot of damage, for the units? So that's like the most obvious question for an attacking unit. You want to make sure they do a lot of damage to the other units so that you can wipe out the team as quick as possible. So the next question you're going to be wanting to answer is does the unit have an AoE / target all enemies? The more it can target, the better. So, there's going to be a lot of units that specifically target one unit, and I think most of the times it's going to be like, oh, whoever has the highest attack, they're going to go after them. And while I like that and all, but there is some other characters, like, I'll be getting into it, like Moonlight Zeta, which is a red attacker, which attacks the back line first. So if you have a bunch of different units attacking different parts of this team and not one solely all together, your team is going to crumble and fall apart. So the sub-note here is, if it's not targeting all enemies or AoE, then what is it targeting? If there is no like specific target specification, then you can just generally put it, most of the stuff is going into the tank as like a base. The third thing is status effects. Status effects, status effects, status effect. I mean, this is so important in PvP. Like, can your unit cause bleed or sleep or stun or poison, or like what kind of debuffs are you giving the team, and then what kind of buffs are you giving? So I guess I could put buffs and debuffs here. So you're going to want to definitely think about that when you have your attacking units, because you're going to put it in a lot of specification for it. Another thing is magic gear. I mean, magic gear can make or break characters. I mean, specifically that SS++ gear. Now, I am not going to be factoring in every single magic gear for every character because that is a lot of work. Instead, I am going to be solely focusing on the SS++ magic gear because that has changed the dynamic of a character going from like uh, pretty much somewhere in the like the C or B tier all the way up to like SS, like top tier. I mean, there's been that dramatic of a change with some of these SS++ magic gears. Obviously, if you do have a magic gear for your character, it's going to be very good to put it on. Some magic gears are better than others. You just kind of have to go ahead and read that and then kind of figure out how well it really contributes to your team. You're going to be yeah, so you want to take your magic gear and then answer all these questions again, and what does it do? What is it doing for your team, and how beneficial would it be? Because magic gear like SS++ is a beast of its own. That's why I'm only going to be going over that. So, and then 5 here is shields are actually really, really good. Like, can your character create a shield? If so, that is so good. That is so good for PvP. And then you have characters that can give everybody a shield, which is even better. That is very, very good. So, and then debatably the most important note when you're making these teams or anything on the team list or the tier list is, does your team itself synergize well? Don't get me wrong, you can have good units, but like if you have a certain character that's in there, it can just like put your whole like a damper on your whole team. You can have certain units that are 1 second here. Alright, back to what I was saying. So you can basically have, like, sometimes, you know, if you don't have a really good synergy, you can have units that will actually destroy your team pretty well. So, like, for example, if you have Anaros and you have a bunch of, like, non-human units in there, like, what's the point of using Anaros? You're essentially just having a dead unit. It's not buffing the team in the way it should be, and it's just like maybe Anaros could do some damage like on her own, but she's not up to full potential, and I definitely think it'd be a hell of a lot better to put somebody else in at that point. So you got to really make sure that you are synergizing well with your teams. So I even put that here. So Anaros working greatly with human teams. So if you have that synergy, then like of all human teams, and then they're all buffing each other in a very relatively good way, I mean, that's the most important thing about Bushin Fest, is you got to make sure your team lines up pretty well. I'm not going to be going into specific pairings like throughout, like, I mean, I might mention a couple here and there, but it's not going to be the whole video. Like, that could be a whole separate video just talking about different synergies. And in fact, if you have a really good synergy that you'd like to share, you can definitely put it in the comments below for what you think is like a really good team setup for sure. So, and when we're talking about team setup, there's a couple types for team setup. So depending on the units you have, sometimes you don't even need a healer. So I've seen a lot of like teams that are set up in this way, where there is 4 attackers and 1 tank. In very rare circumstances, sometimes you don't even need a tank, but I'm talking very rare. It's better. It's a safer bet to put in a tank. It had to be a very specific synergy. So the example I put here is that if you have SF Delta, which already puts a tank on herself, and then you have Sherry Barnett with the SS++ magic gear, you have a double shield factor, and you could probably go without a healer for the sake of damage. Having 4 attackers is not really a bad play. You can demolish through your opponents like tank and mid lane, especially if you have characters that don't just attack front line. If you have AoE/all enemies targeted with your character setups, it can be really, really good. But if you're trying to run like 4 attackers and they're all attacking the tank, then I mean the healer's gonna keep like healing the tank. Your mid lane, like all your attackers are like lower on defense. You don't have yourself a tank, and then you're just gonna go down super easy. Or if you don't have a healer, you're not gonna have that consistent heal, and by the time you finish that tank, the other team's gonna finish you off. So that's very important. So for standard team's sake, you're going to want to go with a tank, a healer, and 3 attackers most of the time. Sometimes it'd be better to do the 4 attackers, 1 tank than the no tank and 4 attackers, 1 healer. But it you know, it can work. So, and then also I'm going to talk about like, so when I'm going through the characters, I'm not going to really even be messing around with hidden technique. because hidden technique is, in most cases, never used. Both sides don't really have a chance to activate those unless you have some sort of SP boosted or boosting character. So if we're looking at Shadow with Awakening Hour, he starts with his bar almost like half or a little bit more than that filled. And if you have another unit that boosts up the SP, or if you just stick around enough, survive long enough for him to use it, then it could be worth. But yeah, yeah, those are just some rare circumstances. So I'm not talking at all about hidden techniques because most of the time you're not even going to see it. And then generally for tanks, this is what you're going to want to look for, right? Obviously, how efficient are they? And when it comes to taking damage, how much can they take? How much defense do these tanks actually have? How well can they survive? Is what I'm going to be assessing for tanks. And then we want to say, how well does the tank boost others? Like damage inflicted, damage reduced, crit? Like, what is the tank doing to boost others is a good question you want to ask yourself. And then, does this tank have a wild card? And what I mean by that is the tanks can pull off status effects or stun factor. I mean, stun factor can be huge on enemies. If you're stunning that enemy just for a couple seconds, that gives your whole team an opportunity to wipe that unit before they can even pull off one of their skills, which is huge in PvP. Let me just say that. I've seen people use Rose Retaliation, and that was the sole unit that made them win. Just because of the stun. And probably the defense factor, but either way. Generally, for healers, what you want to look for is pretty much the same thing. Misspell. There's going to probably be a lot of misspellings, so just don't mind that. Obviously, how efficient are they in terms of keeping the team alive? So, are they healing your team consistently? Like, if not, then just throw them in the garbage, because you're not going to want that. Especially if your whole team is getting wiped, like, quickly. Because you're going to run into that scenario a lot in PvP. Sometimes your team can be wiped within a matter of seconds. And at that point, you're going to need some sort of thing to keep you alive with shields. So sometimes your healer just simply isn't enough to heal the team, and it doesn't make that much of a difference. So that's probably when you'd want to shift into a 4 attacker, 1 tanks type of scenario. And then the next thing you're going to ask yourself is, how well does the healer buff, heal, and support the team? Like, you got to take all that into consideration. What are the buffs that the team is getting? In what ways is the healer supporting the team? And are they healing consistently, and are their heals good? And then, of course, the same thing with the wild card. The healer can, like, debuff enemies sometimes. They could pull off a stun or a status effect worth noting. Like, if it's worth noting, then yeah, definitely, you want to put that into the case. Now, I know that was a lot of rambling, but it is necessary to kind of, like, get a feel for, even after this video, when new units are coming out, this is what you're going to want to ask yourself, especially. So if you're trying to assess PvP units on your own, this is generally a good list to go off of, and, like, good examples to think about. But enough of that. We are going to finally dip our toes in the water, and I have this. Here's the scale that I'm using. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to go over that. It's kind of like in parentheses, you can kind of see. So your SS++ are those going to be those units that are your must-have. These are we're talking god tier units. Something that's going to be astronomically good for PvP, and you can't really go wrong without. SS Plus is going to be like just a tier down there. They're amazing units. They're almost close to like a god tier and a must-have, but they just fall short of like a couple things that make them either busted, broken, or OP. They're just really good units, but they're not on that overpowered level. S are going to be great units to have. They could be used pretty efficiently. Just like, it's kind of like my way to gauge in between like what an amazing unit is and what a good unit is / like above average. So I'd say like this is like A tier is like slightly above average or above average units. Then you're gonna go into your B tier, which are okay units. I'd say they're average units. I wouldn't say they're good. I wouldn't say they're bad. So it would go into B tier, and then C tier is where you're gonna finally find your bad units, or units that perform below average or below the par that you're gonna not want to use them in your teams. So pretty much from B tier down, you don't want to have any of those units like in your teams, and if you could try to get better ones, go for better ones. So F tier is going to be terrible units, and I'm talking avoid at all costs. It'd be better to run literally anything else in your team, and that is what the F tier is. Solely for units that just don't work. Absolutely terrible. Just never use them. Ever. Alright, so we actually start off with 2 SF units that I just decided to pull randomly because one's a tank and one's a healer, so I'm not going to be going over every Shadow Festival unit because I don't have that data, so, or like that stuff on there, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that Imperfect Swordplay with Alexia, I see this tank in PvP often. And I mean often. Like, she is very, very good. This is an SS++. God tier tank. This is the best tank in the game. The way I can see, like, the way she buffs the team, I can't go into specifics because, of course, I don't have that type of data. I can't tell you why, in specifics, this tank is really good, besides that it's able to give astronomically good buffs to the, like, I think blue teams, and I don't know if it's, like, the whole team itself, but either way, I see that tank in there, and I'm frightened in PvP, especially around the top 10. If I see that tank, I kind of try to avoid those teams, because that tank actually performs very good in buffing your team, and acting as a good tank too. Like, it can take a lot of damage. It's hard to take down. So, I'm obviously going to put that in the SS++ must-have God tier units. And another thing I wanted to add is, like, when I put like tanks like really high up or healers really high up, just know that I'm going solely based off of healers only. I'm not going to go ahead and compare a healing unit to an attacking unit because obviously both of them function differently. So I'm ranking them based on their class and not on elements either. So just to give an FYI there, like why a healer might trump an attacker, because I'm just basing it off of healer category. So next unit we have Shadow Festival Gamma, and let me just tell you right now, this is probably one of the best healers in the game, hands down. I mean, this is not only good for PvP, but it's good for PvE. It's good for like, you know, your quests. It's good for Chronicles. It's good for literally anything, even World Tree. You can't go wrong with that unit. That is a universal healing unit. That is so good. Because, especially for blue team, for sure, this is like a must-have for blue team because you're getting SP boosts. You can essentially do a hidden technique like 3 times. Not in PvP, but besides the point. That is a very good unit because it can debuff like enemy teams very well, and then it could like she could do SP boost. So you may even be able to launch a hidden technique in PvP. And trust me, I've actually seen it. I've seen Gamma pull off a hidden technique in PvP. Especially if you have shielding units. You may even see her pull that off. And that could just become like an easy win for the other team. I'm not kidding. So, and like she heals good. She does a lot of good buffs. I mean, there's just no question, hands down. Now I'm going to be actually getting into the units that I have the actual skills for. Alright, so here I have the file folders, and this is where I actually have and I'm able to like go through all the skills and whatnot for each character. So for this Elegant Curves Alexia here, she can like raise her own attack for 25%, and then okay, so I don't want to go into the awakened moves yet, so I'm only gonna go under standard. That's all I'm basing it off of because not everybody's gonna have A5 units. So cancels all shield effects on a single enemy. That's going to make her actually very crucial for PvP since there is a lot of shields, and then lowers defense of all enemies within 100 centimeters of target, which is going to probably be the tank, since there is not a specific target, so we just assume tank, which is good because that's what you want to do. And then you're getting rid of the tank. So you're getting rid of the tank shield, and you're also debuffing the tank, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and put her into, I'd say probably S tier. As a great unit, mainly due to the shield factor because a lot of people are running tanks with shields. So if she's able to take down the tank shield and also debuff the tank, that's actually very good for that type of unit. So she's actually pretty good. Furthermore, let's go on to the next character, Alexia Idolized Swordplay. And we're going to go ahead and look at her kit, and basically at the start of the wave, you're raising your damage inflicted by 40% until surviving allies fall below 5. A lot of times in the PvP, you're not going to have that, so sometimes the character can get wiped right away, so this bonus is actually not that good, because all it's going to take is a single enemy to die, and then it's gone. We have a standard 3-hit on a single enemy, and then we have raises own attack by 30% for 10 seconds. So because this unit can raise their own attack by 30%, it goes from being an okay unit to going right above good. Note that Alexia only targets single enemies, and she doesn't target multiple, so that's why she'd go into okay. But the fact that she can, you start the wave with a lot of damage already as is, and then you're raising your damage 30% more. So she's doing a lot of damage at the start of the wave, and even after somebody dies. I mean, I would assume your team's going to last longer than 10 seconds, so just 10 seconds of good damage is really good for that unit. That's why they're above average. Alright, so moving on, we have our next unit here, which is going to be Alexia, Queen of Luck. So we have Drink Up. Let's check this out. Recover. Okay, so this is a healer. Recovers HP by 100%. Also raises defense. That's good. Standard heal with defense up. And then this one is bad damage, but you get poison on the highest attacker and dark. So that's 2 status effects. Keep that in mind. So that's pretty good for the status effect department there. Grants ongoing HP by 4% of attack on yellow elemental allies. So this is like everybody gets ongoing HP recovery, but until the allies fall below 5, which is going to happen often. I'd say her healing is, I'd say pretty decent, so I'd go ahead and put her in the okay section. She may go into the good, especially with those status effects. So if I go back to this one here, yeah, you're also poisoning them and you're inflicting dark, so they might miss their attack. It's possible. So I might even throw her into good just for the sake of that status effect. The fact that she could do dual status effect, and then she's making the whole team. Let's see if they're yellow, or is it all? Yep. So this is only yellow elemental allies. So that makes that kind of really bad. But at least she has like a standard heal. So it's kind of like teetering on average and like above average for those units. But let's just go ahead and stick her into good and just be done with it there. Next we have Alexia Royal Escort, and what we're going to do with this one is that we can note that she has 500 damage on a single enemy, not bad, and then raises damage inflicted by allies by 15% until they fall below 5, which is not so good. And then we have single enemy again. So we're going to have to go ahead and throw her into the okay department. I wouldn't go as far as to say that she's a bad unit. I mean, this could teeter. This could definitely teeter between the two. And, like, there are definitely better options. I'd just go ahead and put her into okay, because she's not terrible, and she's not bad, but she's kind of teetering below, like, in between these two, just to keep that as a note, but I'm going to stick her here. Next, we're going to go to Santa's Little Tease, Alexia next. So let's go ahead and check out Become a Star. 150 on target, so you can actually get 2 of them, but it's not that good a damage. 70% damage on all enemies, lowers the defense by 10, so that's good to do on all enemies. And then lastly, it raises damage inflicted by... So this one's actually, like, not as good. I mean, we're talking... Actually, you know what? I'm actually going to have to put her into bad units, mainly because it's very unfortunate, but she does not do a lot of damage in her skills. I mean, if you just take a look at that, 150, and then you're doing 70%, and then just lowering their defense, like, that is honestly a terrible unit. You have to rely on your other allies just to do damage. So, in the damage department, that unit actually really sucks. I'm going to have to say it like how it is. I mean, she might even be so bad that we might even put her at F. Just because of the... Like, her magic gear may save her now, keep in mind. But, and then this one is actually, it's not on a single, but it's on all enemies within 100 centimeters. But the damage factor is just poor. I would go ahead and actually... I'm going to probably leave her an F, but, like, you can debate that she's below average, but I don't think she goes anywhere near okay, just because of that damage factor alone. So we're going to leave her an F, unfortunately. The only thing that kind of saves her is that, this part here where it's like by 15%, but as soon as somebody dies, that's gone, and that's actually a low percentage. Next, we're going to go to Alpha First Member, and I believe I have that somewhere. It's actually tucked away somewhere different. But let me just go into why this unit's going to be good, right? You're raising your own attack by 20% for 17 seconds, a considerable amount of time, and then a 4-hit combo. That's dual. That's a dual move. 2-in-1. Really, really good. And then Enchanted Waltz, we have raises attack of all allies, doesn't matter the color, 17%, raises own attack by another 20. Incredible. And that's a regular? Like, you gotta be kidding me. And then we have First Member, raises speed of all allies by 15% permanent. Like, just having a speed buff makes your team faster, which means you're gonna be doing the moves fast, you're gonna be hitting first. Like, speed is so essential in PvP, it's unbelievable. This is a must-have. This is a god tier unit because it raises their attacks so well. They're doing really good on the damage front. It's buffing other units and it's buffing the speed. Everybody gets a attack and speed. Crazy, crazy, crazy good. Next, we're going to be going into Alpha. This one's going to be Garden Genesis because it puts that there first. But let's actually grab first the 7 because it's out of order in the where the tier list should have it. So let's go to the first of the 7. This is a blue tank, so 100 damage, lowers defense by 10, so not good on the damage there, but there's the debuff for a tank, at least, not bad. Raises damage inflicted for blue elemental allies, so just keep in mind it's only blue teams, so you're going to have to center your team around blue. And then raises own defense for 30% for 10 seconds. Now that defense value is pretty standard. She's actually a pretty standard unit in general. Now, where is she? She should be here. Let's just go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and add her to the tier list because it seems like I'm not... Oh, there she is. She's just tucked pretty far back. I would go ahead and put her into OK, as far as the tank units go. She can do a little bit of damage, and then she raises damage inflicted. But I wouldn't go ahead and put her above average. She does pretty standard stuff for a blue tank. So, but she's not bad. So, I'd put her in OK. Next, we're back on track with the Garden Genesis. So let's go ahead and go there. Raises your own attack by 30% for 10 seconds. Now that is a considerable amount of damage, especially for a free-to-play unit that you can unlock right away. At the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted for all allies by 12.5% permanent. That is so crucial. I mean, just having a unit like that makes her pretty much universal for any team. This is all allies. It's not bound to a certain color, which is nice. And then Overslash is just 300% damage on a single enemy, not that good. So we're going to go ahead and throw her into the good/above average, just based on the fact that she can buff any team that she wants. You could throw her on any team. That's good. That's above average there. Now we're going to go into that Alpha Red Tank. Now I've talked about this one before, and let me just tell you a little bit more about it, just on the skills. So we have lowers attack by 30%. On the single enemy that has the lowest defense. I don't know why they don't just choose the one that has the highest attack and lowering their attack. That'd be good actually, but no, we don't get that. We just get lowest defense. So, and you're not even lowering their defense further. So that's actually really bad. I'd say a good percentage, but bad targeting. Defense stat stance. You're raising your own defense 30. Standard stuff there. Shadow encounter. This one raises the accuracy of red elemental allies behind yourself by 12.5%. This is so useless. I mean, yeah, more accuracy to you, but, like, it's terrible. There are so many better options. So, in terms of tank, I'm going to go ahead and put her into F tier. Avoid at all costs. Throw any other tank in. this one's like probably debatably the worst tank in the game, or one of the worst. So I would stray away from this tank for sure. Don't go for it. It's a lot of wasted potential there. And I mean, I guess you could argue that she is below average or a bad just because she does do 30% attack, but that's not somebody that has the lowest defense. That's going to be like the weakest unit. You're targeting the weakest unit. Bad targeting. Moving on. We're going to Shadow in the Sun, and then I think that is also off track, but either way, it was organized alphabetically. I guess it just depends. So we have Piercing Flash, which lowers defense on all enemies within 100 centimeters. So this one's like a centimeter game, but at least it's on multiple enemies if they happen to be close next to each other. So that's not bad. Please Move, which is going to be raise own attack by 30%, inflict 200, and then knockback. Not bad. I can't really tell you too much on the knockback. I think when you knock an enemy back, you can probably group them up a little bit more, and then that's where it comes into play with like how you can target the 100 centimeter ones. But like, and then with knockback, of course they're going to have to walk all the way to the position that they were in. So I guess that's a use for knockback, so you kind of delay the unit by a couple seconds or whatever. So not bad, especially since that's a 3-in-1 move. Let's go to Shadow in the Sun next. And this is debatably probably the best, one of the best ones right here, because raises damage inflicted by all allies, meaning you can throw her on any team as long as you have 3 or more green elemental allies, self-included, permanent. Just pair her up with 2 more green elemental allies, and this team can fly. Good synergy she can have. A lot of potential there. So because she can do that, I'm actually going to place her into the great unit section, because she can actually do quite a bit. And like it's like slightly better than the Garden Genesis, so that's why I put her into a great unit category. Next we have the last alpha, I believe. Let's check it. Spring Sword, and with this one, raises your own evasion for the whole wave 25%. Not bad, but I think there's some room for debate with whether another stat would be better. So this one's actually not too bad, because 20%. Now if we're just talking about standards, you have 45% dodge, like almost a coin flip, almost, for just that, and that's just for 10 seconds. And it also inflicts provoke, so when you do provoke them, it's only on a single enemy, but it's the one with the highest attack, so it's kind of worth it, and you do have a chance to dodge it. Like we're talking almost coin flip. So if it was a little bit more higher percentage on the evasion, I think it would be better. But it's just basically a coin flip, and then if they do hit you, it's bad. So it's kind of relying on RNG. At the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted for green allies behind self, 12.5. That's pretty standard stuff for a tank. I'm going to go ahead and put her into, I'd say, an okay unit. I wouldn't say she's, like, bad. She's got a couple things, like she can, like, here's the thing, too. She can teeter. She could be a bad unit, especially if her evasion doesn't work. Because if her evasion doesn't work, which there is actually a higher percent chance, like 55% chance, or when she's off that skill, a 75% chance of getting hit without any damage reduction. So that it can, I'd actually go ahead and throw her in here, because like if you don't have your evasion, like the 45%, and that's not a lot, you might need to like awaken her to be better. I'm gonna go ahead and throw her into bad, because like evasion's good, you can dodge a lot instead of reducing damage, but I feel like the damage reduction is just more of a guarantee than RNG chance of dodging. Now let's finally move on into beta. We have to go to Anaros first. Beta's actually just stuck way the heck up there. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and pull Anaros, so just to do it in an organization with my files. We're going to go to Cerulean Storm, and this is a 4-hit, and it cancels a buff. Wow. I mean, good damage. That's 500%. Good damage, and it removes a buff. Incredible. Next we're going to go to Wandering Swordswoman, and this is a lot of text here, but raises own attack 15 multiplied by number of humans, raises evasion by number of humans in the party. So if you have 5 humans in the party, including yourself, unless it doesn't include yourself, you either have 80% or 100%. That's more than Spring Sword. I mean, that's crazy. that is so crazy. I mean, she can dodge it. Not everybody else, but she can, which makes her really good because she's going to be the one that's most stacked. She's going to have the most attack. Absolutely busted if you can pull that off with a full human team. Raises attack of all human allies by 30% for 15 seconds and speed by 30. Further raises healing boost for 40 if it's red. Insane. This is an insane. This unit does a lot for the team. So we can go ahead and pick out Anna Rose, and I'm going to go ahead and put her into an amazing unit. I mean, we're talking like so close to God tier, especially with, or I mean, at least it falls short of God tier, but it's so good if you have a full human team, especially when you have SF units that are red and they're human. That just makes your team so much more busted. Next, we're going to go to, let's see what the files say first. So we're going to go back. We're going to go into Calamity Witch. We're going to go into Aurora. Now, this is actually a very good unit. So let's go ahead and put it up. At the start of the wave, you're inflicting bleed on all enemies for 20 seconds. Incredible. I mean, sometimes all it takes is 20 seconds. So that amount of bleed is pretty good. So, Red Spear Assault is the next one, which is inflict 5% bleed on enemies within 100 centimeters. So this is with the lowest defense for 20. So you're killing off the weakest ones, which is great. You're going to want to do that, especially with Aurora. That's so good. Scythe the Darkness, 3 hit, and then bleed for 20 seconds. So you're causing bleed on the weakest one, and then you're also probably doing bleed on the tank. So you're throwing bleed around a lot. That's all, like 3 of those moves were just bleed, and she's going to be doing that quite often. So I would go ahead and put Aurora not only in great, but above into amazing units because there is like good damage and a lot of bleed factor, and you're killing off the weakest ones. You can't ask for more. Bleed is so good in PvP. Alright, next we're going to go with the second Aurora, which is Fighting Words. Blood Quickening, which is raises own attack based on enemy's total bleed stack. So you can see where the potential lies if you have a lot of bleed units. Multiplied by 4%. So, I mean, that's pretty good, but that's just playing off of the whole, like, you need bleed units, I think. Inflicts 200%, 7 bleed, so it's more stacks of bleed on all enemies. That's crucial. I mean, just, like, read it and weep kind of thing. That's on all enemies. That Calamity Witch can't do that. Unless, like, I think it's a hidden technique. But still, all enemies getting 7 stacks of bleed. Insane. Absolutely insane. Pair both the Auroras up and watch her fly. Incredible. Every 10 seconds after the start of the wave, inflicts bleed on all enemies. So this Aurora is debatably, I would say it can be better than the Calamity Witch. It just kind of depends. I don't want to do too many comparisons, but let me go ahead and throw her in the same category because bleed on all enemies is absolutely busted. It's not like start of the wave bleed is good, but like bleed on all enemies is just so good. Alright, do we finally get to beta now? Let's check it. No, we get to Swaying Moonlight. So this is actually a Shadow Festival unit here. So Dance of Death, let's go ahead and check it out. So Demon Power, like I've mentioned this in another video, so it's like 50% on 3 different categories. We're talking like, I think speed, crit rate, attack. I can't remember the specifics, but it's super good buffs, especially at 50%, and then they can stack. And then there's a little bit of an accuracy boost, but who cares about that really? And then this is Demon Power on the one with the highest attack, so they're going to be doing way more, so that's actually really good for PvP. Like, it could be stupid broken. Stake of the Guilty, 500 on a single, and then Magic Blockage, so if they're getting healed, they get damaged as well. And that's most likely going to go on the tank, so that's actually really good, because the healer's going to probably hit the tank unless the mid lane's getting destroyed. So that's not bad. Swaying Moonlight is every 10 seconds after the start of the wave, you're granting Demon Power on random attacker ally for 20 seconds. Raises accuracy. Who cares about the accuracy, really? Unless they're really debuffing that, or the team has high evasion. Now, with some specifics there, Demon Power is like super amazing. I would throw her in SS plus God tier, but the thing is, I have to throw her in SS plus because she is basically reliant on others. So, I mean, you could debate that she's God tier unit, you can, it's possible, but I'm going to go ahead and stick her into an amazing unit, and then because she's going to be needing the help of others. It's good buffs, don't get me wrong, but she needs the help. She does need the help of another SF or somebody else that's stronger, because that's what she's relying on a lot. I mean, you really can't sway the argument one way or another with that factor. Beatrix, Elf Swordmaster. So she's actually not bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at her. Crusader Spirit. Now this one raises own attack by 30%. Great, 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 great. Further shields, even better. You're creating a shield and you're raising your attack. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of like some buffs out there, but this one's a very, very good one, especially with the shield. At the start of the wave, raises own SP discount rate. You might as well forget this one. You're probably not even going to pull that off, so that's kind of like a wasted skill slot. Very unfortunate. And then we have 150% on enemies within 100 centimeters, and then knockback. So not bad, but here's the thing. She is more of like a tankier attacker. So like she can do a lot with her like 30% bonus, and then she can actually stay in the game for pretty long. So I mean, we could at least give her credit in that department there. She's way over here. This organization is just awful right now. So we're going to actually throw her into, I'd say she teeters between great and good. I think for the sake of it, I'll throw her into, I don't know if she stacks up like that. It's in between these two, so I mean, there's room for debate, but I'm going to go ahead and leave her into the great units, the S tier there. Right, so just because of the shield factor and she can raise herself. She does, actually, you know what? She doesn't do a lot. She doesn't buff the team. And she doesn't throw a status effect on, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw her in good. She's actually a good unit. She's above average, but I wouldn't go crazy with it. Now let's go ahead and focus on the Holiday Frolic version of Beatrix. So let's go to Enjoy Your Gift. Raises own defense by 25% for 10 seconds. Further shields for 250. Now this one's a tank, keep in mind you, right? So the defense is pretty actually below standard, and then there's a shield, so that makes it above standard. So, I mean, right off the bat, she can take more damage than most tanks, just based off that factor. Alright, because the shield will last quite a bit. Oh, I wasn't done. Let's see here. Giant Snowball. This one's knockback on the highest attack, so I guess it does work because it'll disrupt them for a bit. So they'll have to walk back to their place. So this is not bad, especially for PvP wise, because it's targeting the highest attacker as a tank. That ain't bad. And then we have Holiday Frolic, 10% or 10 seconds after the wave, recovers SP of a single ally with the highest attack. This can depend, it solely depends. So if you have like Awakening Hour Shadow, and you have his magic gear, and then you're already like halfway there, you can actually get SP buffed, and then you could do your ultimate right away. I mean, that's a good synergy right off the bat, especially if you have the highest attack for that Awakening Hour. That'd be absolutely busted, and then you have Sherry on top of that. Sorry, that's just a really good synergy right there. I just kind of dropped. I just realized the potential that she could have there, so... I'm not basing it off that, though. I'm just basing it off the character itself, so if I were to find her in this mess... Okay, there we go. I would normally just put her into okay, but then since she can kind of cause a little bit of disruption to that highest attacker with the knockback... I'm going to go ahead and put her into good units, like above average, because A, she can take more damage than a regular tank can, just based on shield factor. She's not doing a whole lot for her team, but she's definitely disrupting the other team for sure. Alright, okay, so yep, now I'm back here. Let's go to best-selling author. Now this one's a healer for beta. Healing boost of a single ally with the highest defense by 100%. So you're going to obviously find that with the tank. So you can heal the tank a lot better. Not bad, especially if you want to keep the tank alive. Hansel and Gretel, this one's HP with lowest by 50%. So you're doing half of a normal heal, which I'm going to say actually sucks. Especially with, you get HP recovery if it's yellow. So if it's not yellow, you're really screwed with this type of unit. So, and then you have, that's Awakened. We don't want to look at that. I Am the Dragon as well, which lowers attack of all enemies by 5%. Not really a good percentage there. Inflicts poison on them, so that's good. And then reduces attack if it's blue. There's a lot of restrictions. I wouldn't go ahead and say this is a good unit by any means. I'm going to say she actually performs below par, below average healer, not good on the heals, a lot of ongoing HP recovery, which just is going to get chewed up and spat out immediately. Alright, so let's move on to the next one here. We're going to go to Clever Bunny Beta and see how well she stacks up. So for this one, at the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted of a supporter ally with the highest attack by 100%. So, I mean, not really that good. You don't want to buff your supporter. That's not really that good. And then further increases damage inflicted by 100% if it's yellow. So you need yellow, and you need a yellow healer, and you need to have a supporter in your team. So it's restrictive in that way. Exploding Dice raises own crit rate for 15%, 300 on damage. So like the crits can be good if you could pull that off, but it's a low percentage. Lowers attack of a single ally with the highest attack by 15% for 10 seconds. Inflicts slow. Amazing. Right there. That's a good unit you want to have. For just this sole factor alone is really good because you're targeting the highest attacker, lowering their attack, and slowing them down. That's incredible. That's going to be so useful in PvP. I am not kidding you. And then, like, the other stuff is, like, I wouldn't say it doesn't stack up too well. Especially with the supporter ally. Like, if you can have a good synergy with that, go ahead. Maybe Lambda? I don't know. You kind of have to find a really good one. And I think it's, like, the counterpart to that specific event. So it's a very specific pairing there. Just because of that one skill, she actually gets a pass in the above average just because of that specific targeting and the slow. You really got to take status effects into consideration with these units for sure. Go back. Now we're going to Lovely Stories, and I think I've talked about this one a little bit. So concentrate, raise your own attack by 10 for 10 seconds, 30%. Pretty considerable amount there. Reduces damage received for a single ally with the highest attack, 35. That's not bad, especially if you're, but it really has heavy reliance on a good ally. And then 300% damage. So she's very reliant on others for sure. You're raising your own attack, and then you're like doing 300% damage on a single enemy. There's not a lot to boast about here. So she kind of goes, I would say, probably below average, just because she can. I think actually, you know what? With the attacking factor, she might be an okay, but she definitely teeters debatable in bad. So. I guess I'll go ahead and throw her into okay. Alright. Now let's go into Ocean Temptation there. I actually have this unit. Aqua Bullet, so raises damage inflicted for a single enemy by 10 plus X for, and then X is enemy's total damage received buff. So there's a lot of math in there. 300% damage otherwise. I mean, so it could just raise it depending on how much like the damage received buff is. So I mean, that's kind of, there's some complications there. Ocean Temptation. Each time damage is inflicted, inflicts stun on one random enemy for 2 seconds. Further raises damage received for one random enemy by 5% for 5 seconds. So if you're trying to get those two to proc at the same time, it's very random. So who knows? You're probably not going to get that. So that's just RNG. That kind of sucks. But the stun factor is good. So you can stun up to 5 times with this specific unit for 2 seconds. So, I mean, like I'm telling you, stun is super, super good. Now let's see what Summer's Blessing is. Raises defense first ally in line by 20%. It's going to be your tank for 13 seconds. Further raises the attack by 20% if it's red elemental. So if you got a red tank, really good pairing there. Especially if you're doing Lambda, Rose 666, and this unit. I mean, that's a good synergy, right, in itself, because you're raising the attack even further. So the tank's going to actually be doing a lot of damage. So that's actually not bad, especially with this one. So with specific synergies with that Ocean Temptation and the sole factor that she can do a stun up to 5 times is going to put her into the above average. The damage is kind of slightly considerable, but she can raise the tank up pretty well. So I mean, she's supporting it in that way, so it's going to be harder for the enemy team to chew through your tank, so that's not bad. So she goes into above, debatably okay. Alright, so now I think we're on Lovely Stories is next. Nope, it's or Bright World. So yeah, Shadow Encounter. Let's just do that one next. Let's go ahead and go back in there. Energy Shot. We have that. So 80%, forget that. Inflict stun on highest attacking enemy. Good. That's actually really good. Multi-shot. 300% damage. Nothing to boast about. Shadow Observer. Raises damage inflicted for single ally with the highest attack by 35%. Doesn't matter the element. That is super good, especially if you already have somebody that is buffing themselves up by a lot. So there's a lot of synergy potential in this unit, and this unit is actually universal with other teams. So that's what I also look for in a unit, and the fact that it can inflict stun. So this is questionable. It definitely needs another unit to back her up, but the sole purpose of this unit is to buff other units and then make them incredibly OP. Like if you have a Shadow Festival unit, then bam, you're doing a lot of damage. It's always going to target the highest attacker, so that's great. So she falls in between good units and actually great. It depends on who you have in your team. So I would, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and throw her into great just because of the fact that she can do a stun on the highest attacker and disrupt their highest attacker, and B, she can raise the damage inflicted on a single ally. This is permanent. Start of the wave, I believe. Or, no, it just depends when she throws it out. But still, that's a significant amount for her. Alright, let's go ahead and go back. Now we finally get on to Bright World. So, let's go to Bright World. Raises healing boost of all blue. So, it's specifically tied to blue for healing. Charge shot, 80% on highest attacker. Lowers the attack of that enemy by 20% for 10 seconds. Not bad. Reduces the attack by 8, so 28% if it's red. Yeah, you'd have to really go around that. And then you have a standard heal. So this unit, I'd say falls into okay, but then the fact that she can only heal within 100 centimeters, I didn't read that part, but I know she does that, makes her probably below average. You want a healer that can actually heal all your team, not just a specific portion, but like, most of the time it's on actually like a, let's see here, I'm just gonna pull it up. Lowest attack, yep, so she has a heal there. Yeah, it's a pretty standard heal, so I'd actually think, and then the healing boost, I'd still, like, it's debatable that she's okay, but I'm going to throw her in bad. Now let's see what we have next. We have another day NPC, Sid. Alright, let all that load. Ooh, I don't think I actually put the ultimate there, so I know another NPC day is right here. When an ally is knocked out, raises damage inflicted by 50%. So I really don't need to go into any other skills besides, let's see here, first aid, healing. You heal yourself, and then this is the ultimate, so we don't want that. Slime bullet, and then 240% damage. So this character, I'm just gonna say this character flat out sucks. It is so bad. You're only healing yourself. You get a buff if somebody dies. Terrible unit. Do not focus. Avoid at all costs. You don't want that in your team. If you have somebody that revolves around somebody dying, just throw them out. That's so bad. It's not even, the buffs you get from somebody dying isn't even that. I mean, it's kind of noteworthy, but you don't want that. By that time, everybody's dead. You want a strong team. You don't want to build your team off of a weak foundation. So let's go back to all characters. Alright, another Sid unit. We have Hidden Powerhouse. Let's see here. So when knocked out, so this is another unit, of course. So if you die, you heal others, and it's not even by a good percentage. If it was a full heal, that'd be a different story. Standard heal. Was that on the highest attacker? Lowest HP of attack. Yep, so the standard heal. And this one is raises defense of a single ally with the highest defense by 30%, and then recovers it a little bit if it's blue. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that this unit actually is very bad. Terrible unit. Do not avoid at all costs. Do not put any energy into that blue healer. That is so bad. You're better off going with this Bright World Beta. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which is Sid John Smith. So we have In Cradle, and that one raises like standard defense raise with a steel thread. Now, and then provoke on all enemies. Now this is really good because if you provoke all enemies, I already consider that a very good tank because you're having everybody focus on you and nobody's targeting your mid lane. You want to keep your mid lane safe, so that makes this tank already above average performing. So we have In Cradle, and then if the first unit that attacks you is getting stunned, so you have a stun on top of what was it again? You have a stun on top of provoking. Like, so it's a guaranteed stun for sure. Then you have John Smith skill, which each time a debuff is inflicted, you're gonna want somebody that does like bleed or something like that, or a lot, or not bleed, debuff, sorry. So if you're lowering their debuff or whatever, lowers the SP boost rate of a random enemy, but SP's boost is not gonna really matter. So that's kind of like a dead skill for PvP. Inflicts 100% on damage on all enemies, reduces SP boost rate. So this one heavily plays off of SP boost, like they're not gonna hit their hidden technique at all, so I mean it's not going to matter because that barely happens anyway. I'm going to go ahead and put John Smith into this category of being above average. I'd say you could debate he's great, especially with his steel threads. Now if you get him more awakened, bam, throw him into great units. I mean his magic gear even may allow you to throw him into great units, but like I said, I'm not counting magic gear unless it's SS++. So let's go ahead and throw him into good, debatably great here, if you have all the necessary things like the magic gear. I keep doing that. Alright, I'm back again, so let's see here. Let's go to Eminence and Shadow. This is the standard Sid that you get right off in the beginning of the game. So you're going to, at the start of the wave, raise his damage inflicted of all allies by 12.5. Very good. It's another one of those things where every ally is getting damage inflicted permanent. So, I mean, you cannot complain there. That's actually very good. 500% damage on a single enemy, not bad for the damage. And Slime Pick, which is 300%. So, right off the bat, you know, here's what I'm going to say about this, right? We got like a good unit, or an okay unit, that's pretty much hitting the above average with that damage inflicted. Now, if we're talking about the SS++ gear, and especially if you have him A5, but I'm like I said, I'm not putting A5 into the equation, only the magic SS++ gear. So if you have his magic SS++ gear, you can automatically throw him into great unit, just because the fact that he can do, I think, a little bit more damage, and the fact that every time he attacks, he is healing the team. So right off the bat, that becomes a great unit, and I think he can become an amazing unit if you have him A5. You have both magic gears on him. Like, I think he could probably hit amazing at that point. But let's just throw him into great, only because of the magic SS++ gear. So you, like, even free to plays or like beginners can grind him out eventually to the point to where he's a great unit, and that's also great, having access to a character like that and having him be so high on the PvP when you grind him out. Let's go back to Claire now. We're actually going to Claire. Light Step is the first one. So raises own evasion by 30%, recovers HP if need be. Oh, sorry, that's awakened. Let's go back. Raises evasion only by 30%, so we're using that value instead. When HP falls below 50%, raises evasion of all red elemental allies behind self by 10. So that's only for red elemental allies. Wish it was all. 3 hits on highest attack lowers their accuracy. This is not good as a tank. You want to target more than the accuracy, and you're gonna want to, like, she has her own evasion as well that she can pull off, but like you're gonna want to like do damage reduction, not evasion, and then you're causing other red units to evade by a very small percentage. So I would say that's it's a bad tank. Some people say that it's good, and maybe it's good that you can, like, we could debate about it. I mean, she can go, if you get her up to A5, I think it changes, and then if she has the magic gear, it changes. Like, you could change a lot, you know, it's up for room. But if we're talking basic A0, no magic gear, this is where she falls, in my opinion, just based on her skill set, and that's what I'm basing a lot of this on. Because you have 30%, and then you have 10%, and you have to fall below 50 for that even to proc. Like, that's not good. And then you're lowering attack, and then doing a very minuscule amount of damage. Nah. This ain't a tank. This is not what you want to see when it comes to tanks. So, she hits it in the bad, maybe even terrible, but, like, for the sake of it, because I know she can be good, throw her into bad units. Now, let's go ahead and check out Claire sibling time. Let's go, this is one where I didn't put the ultimate in, but we'll figure that out very soon. Okay, that's her ultimate. We don't want that. Enhanced body, raises own attack by 10%, raises speed by 50. See, now that's not too bad either. So 50% for speed is pretty good, and attack is pretty good, but let's see if her other skills can back her up. When HP falls below 50%, raises damage inflicted by 70%. So, I mean, if you can get yourself below 50% and then get healed and stay there, that's not bad. And then 300% on a single enemy. So a lot of this is very situational for this sibling time Claire. I think she has an SS++ magic gear too. I don't think her plus magic gear is that good. But I'm going to go ahead and throw her into okay. We could debate she's good with the magic gear, or we can debate she's bad if, like, she just flat out dies and she doesn't get healed. So I'm going to go ahead and go in the middle with her and just say she's an okay unit for PvP. Alright, so now we have Sister in Summer. This one's Bounce and Bloom, so raises stun resistant for all blue and elemental allies by 80%, so that's actually a very huge margin, or not margin, but percentage for 15 seconds. Raises attack for 50% if it's Sid Kagano, blue elemental. So it has to be a blue elemental Sid Kagano, which is like the Eminence and Shadow one, or nope, that's a Shadow unit, or I think it might be Sid. I don't know. It's very specific. Let's go into Rock and Serve. Inflicts 100 on damage on all enemies. Lowers the attack by 10, and then an additional 10 if it's red. And then we have Sister in Summer, which is if partied with Sid, so you have to have it. Inflicts 2 hit within 100 centimeters when using normal attack. So her normal attack does change and goes to a, like, it could be like a it's definitely a little bit better, and then damage inflicted of self and Sid ally by 30%. So you need a very specific synergy with this character, which when it comes to synergies, and like that's a very specific one. At least this Sid blue elemental unit is good, so that pairing itself is not a bad synergy. I'm gonna go ahead and throw her into okay. We can debate that she's good or maybe even great if you have like a specific synergy for that, but I'm gonna throw her into okay because of the synergy factor with Sid, because it's very restrictive. Let's go ahead and do the SF Claire, which is the power in my left. So we got Rock Smash right off the bat, so 300% damage, further inflicts 20% damage and multiplied by its total bleed effects max 400%. So you can get up to probably 700% damage in this move alone, which just tells you that's Shadow Festival damage for a regular move. I mean, that's pretty good. We got Settle Down, 150% damage on all enemies, further inflicts the 7 stacks of bleed on all enemies, inflicts bleed on self for 10. Now this is a bad thing because you don't want to injure yourself, you don't want to do that, but the 7 stacks of bleed makes up for it on all enemies, trust me. It sounds bad, but then let's get into her other move too, which is the power in my left. So when HP falls below 40, if it's awakened it's 75. I know I wasn't going to say to bring into Awaken, but 70. And then you raise your damage inflicted by 150%, and you don't have any bleed resistance. I mean, that is super good. I mean, that's just something important to note for that specific character. But let's just go into the standard, which is not bad either, but like when HP falls below 40%, cancels all bleed effects on self, raises bleed you're not going to hit bleed again by 100%, and then further raises damage inflicted by 100%. So that bleed is actually going to get you there, and then you're not going to bleed anymore. You're going to stop bleeding, and you won't bleed ever again. And then, but the main thing about this skill is that when your HP dips below that factor, you're going to be doing 100% more damage inflicted, which is so busted. I mean, the more your character gets damaged, imagine, like, they just take you below that threshold, and then you're able to rip with so much damage. Like, this is a good unit. But the fact that there's some risk involved with this Shadow Festival unit, like, she is great. She is an amazing unit for PvP, and we can debate that she's god tier for PvP, but I want to go ahead and put her at a comfortable SS plus with the risk factor. I know the magic gear is going to help her. I know if you like awaken her to A1, which can get that 70%. If you have her like more awakened and more magic gear, boom, throw her into god tier. There you go, problem solved. But SS plus or SS plus, amazing unit. I'm gonna put her in. Let's go ahead and backtrack and go with the Claire Cogno for the Dancing Sword. That's the Masquerade one. So let's go to Cursed Edge, blue attacker, by the way. Grants demon power on self. We've been over this. 50%, 50%, 50%. 3 stacks, or 3 of them on. And that does a 4 hit as well on the highest attacker, which is good. So if you already grant demon power to yourself, you're doing more damage inflicted, you're doing more speed, and then more crit rate, I believe, or crit attack. That enemy with the highest attack is going to suffer. So that's good. Dancing Sword. At the start of the wave, grants demon power on self for 60 seconds. Further raises crit rate attack by 20%. So you're getting 70% crit attack on yourself. And then you're attacking the one that has the highest attack. That is good. That is very, very good. Sword Dance now raises attack of all allies by 15% for 15 seconds. Further shields damage by 15 seconds if human. If human, note that, Anna Rose, pair that up. Wow, my goodness, is that going to be brutal. Shields damage if human. So you can have a double shield, right? You could do raises the attack of all allies. You can shield yourself. You could shield all allies, and then you could have Sherry that already shields all allies with that SS++ gear, and then you could have Anna Rose as a human doing a massive amount of damage. Wow. Wow, the synergy. The synergy is threatening. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and say that she's definitely above average with her skills there. Here we found her. Let's go and throw her all the way into a great unit. I would definitely put her at a comfortable there. I would not put her up to this level though. She's very damn close. So we could debate that she's S, but I'm gonna or SS plus. But I'm gonna keep her here. All right. Let's go back. Delta, 4th member. Now we're on another Shadow Festival unit here. This is the alt, so I just have another copy of it for whatever reason. So each time damage is inflicted, shields damage 20%, but this is going to be a lot, so of self for 15 seconds. Delta's shield is so brutal because there's no cooldowns, so you're just going to keep shielding and shielding and shielding and shielding, and she's usually the last one that survives, along with the healer and maybe a few others, but like, absolutely insane. It is so busted stupid with this shield, so because of no cooldown factor, and they should definitely keep it that way. Shadow Slash, let's go ahead and look at that. This is a 5-hit, pretty standard damage on a single enemy, but it's 5-hit. Uproar, we want to check that out. Raises own attack by 30%, raises defense by 30%. So because you're raising your defense and you're putting a shield on yourself and you have a lot of attack, she's actually a very reasonable attacker. But she doesn't, like, she does a lot of damage, but she's not able to pull off her hidden technique, which definitely puts her below. I would say, now it's going to be kind of controversial, because I'm going to put her into S. Actually, you know what? No, she definitely gets an SS+. Like, actually, you know what? These should be changed, now that I think of it, because it's just for consistency's sake. So it's SS, and then it's SS+. just to make it a little bit more consistent. So yeah, she'll definitely stay here at an amazing unit just because she's just a tanky attacker, and that's something unique and something very good as well. Alright, let's keep continuing. I hunted it. This is actually a not bad unit. So, Delta Drill, we have 200% damage on single enemy knockback as well. So, I mean, that might be on the tank. So, you actually, yeah, if that's on the tank, you're knocking the tank back, and then you're actually opening up that mid lane, I believe. So, that's actually pretty good. 300% on a single enemy. And at the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted by 35%. I'm not sure if that's for all or for yourself. Either way, that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, and because of those stat boosts and the fact that she could do the knockback on potentially the tank, I'm going to go ahead and put her in good, above average, especially with that damage inflicted. So she's performing at above average, and she's actually not bad. Now let's go ahead and, like, this one has an SS++ magic gear, the next one does, which is the Epsilon Elegance now. I don't say, like, it's a little bit noteworthy, but, like, especially because it's, like, more of a cleanser for red. Like, you can get rid of status effects, which is probably a big thing. So raises healing boost. This is the same thing that Bright World Beta does, so like literally the same thing. This is copy and paste, so I'm not gonna go over this a second time. So notice I put her here into bad units because she doesn't have a really good heal. So naturally I put her right there. Now the reason why I'm gonna throw her up is because she has a magic gear SS++ that allows her to cleanse some of the red allies, which is not bad, but like I don't think it's worth grinding for. I mean, you have better healers. You know, I wouldn't necessarily go for it. We could debate about the magic gear being better than it is and probably throwing her into A, but I think that's as far as she goes. I'll go ahead and keep her in B, though. Now let's go ahead and talk about this Gamma that's coming up here. Wait, Gamma? No, never mind. We're still in Epsilon. It's just all screwed up. So let's go to Epsilon Hottest Musician. This is a healer. Brilliant Blessing recovers HP, standard heal, but throws defense on top of it, which is always nice. We have at the start of the wave raises own overheal by 20%. Pretty greedy. I mean, most of the time, you know, your healers aren't going to get attacked. It's the mid lane and that tank you want to worry about. Inflicts minuscule amount of damage. Sleep on single enemy with the highest attack. That is actually good for PvP because you have a tank or a healer that is causing sleep on somebody that has the highest attack. Incredible. Also raises the damage received by 10%. So that person who's getting sleep put on them is also going to get hurt a lot more and potentially could die before they pull off anything tricky. So just because of that factor alone, like, she can do a pretty good job, decent heal. So she'd be stuck in okay, but I'm going to put her above average. Debatably great. She can go as high as great, but I'm going to throw her in good, mainly because of that sleep factor. Like, actually, you know what, though? It might be... I think it's better than a stun for 3 seconds, and she can actually cause the enemy to sleep and get hurt more. Let's just keep her in S. As a healer, that's actually very impressive. Alright, now let's go to Ideal Me, and this is a lot of SP factor here. So, Allegro, we have 3 hit combo on a single enemy, right there. Not bad, not good. Ideal Me. When damage is received, you recover SP. I doubt you're still going to hit that hidden technique. Raises attack of allies within 100 centimeters of self by 12%. That's so bad. You want something better than that. Like, it really does suck for PvP because you have to, like, be in close proximity. She does have a magic gear SS++. So here's where I'm gonna throw her. Right, she does an okay amount of damage. Like, I'm gonna say that at least. Where is she? Where is she? There she is. I would say okay, but the fact that she can have a magic SS++ gear, let's throw her into good, above average performing. She could, we can argue great, but, like, let's just put her in A. Okay, alright. So, next we're on... Yeah, I hunted it. Is that the last one we put? Oh, we skipped over quite a bit. I went straight from I hunted it to elegance now. So, my apologies. I definitely went out of order here. We were still in Delta and we were never finished. So, um, that can happen. So let's go with the Delta Halloween one. So we have 300% damage on a single enemy, and then further inflicts knockback. So not bad. Probably to the tank as well. So I already mentioned this before with another unit. Raise zone attack by 30%. Further shields damage for 15 seconds. Now, wow, that's actually really good. Mischievous Witch. Each time evading attack, raises damage inflicted by 5% for 30 seconds. Now, that's crazy. So you can get up... Like, does she have an evade? Her magic gear might, but... Oh, wait, that might be her one of her ultimates, because I don't think I have her ultimate down. No, this is her ultimate. She doesn't have anything to increase her evasion. I think it's in her magic gear. So, but either way, the own attack by 30% and the shielding damage, and then on top of that, you have a knockback move. So, I would say that this unit actually performs above average. So, let's go ahead and throw her there. Especially if you can get like some sort of an evasion setup. Alright, so let's go back to Delta since I made a giant skip. Let's go to Small Predator, and this one does have a magic gear. Ooh, I don't want to mess with her yet. Yeah, let's go to Break Apart. 300% damage, standard damage. Delta is Mighty. Raises own attack by 30% for 10 seconds. Good, good. Small Predator. At the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted by 35%. So 35% plus the 30%. And then plus the Magic Gear SS++. That's going to take her. So she already... I think she performs above average with her damage already. So she's a good unit to have in PvP without the Magic Gear. As far as like an A rank goes. But with that Magic SS Plus gear, we go into great. I wouldn't say amazing, but at least great. Alright, let's backtrack and go to Waiting for Boss. This is the green tank that you get fairly right away. Blast it away, 100% on single lowers the defense, so we've seen that move before. This way, raises own evasion, inflicts provoke, so that's actually good, but that's on a single enemy. We've seen it better on somewhere else. Most likely going to get hit because it's not a lot of evasion. You have 25% evasion with that move, and I think it's permanent, right? Yeah, it's permanent. So when they are getting provoked, she has a 25% chance of dodging unless you awakened it. So right off the bat, I'm going to say as far as tanks go, she definitely gets placed in the OK status, maybe debatably bad. I mean, I put Claire down here, so I think she's probably the same. So I'm going to keep her in C. She's going to be in C tier. A bad unit. Except... yeah, no. She definitely stays in C. Now let's go to Way of the Beast. I think I've seen this in Arena, like when it first came out. 300%. Let's see what Eat My Tail is. Lowers defense of a single enemy. Ooh, this is not that good, actually. Start a wave, raises damage inflicted by 35%. At that point, you might as well just be going with this this one right here. So I'd say this one's an okay unit. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like bad or good, so I think it falls in between. Let's go back. Yeah, we skipped Elizabeth even. Let's go to the Scarlet Queen. That one's actually fairly recent for a Shadow Festival unit. Raises attack of all allies by 15%, cancels debuff, effects on all vampire and human allies. Really good for a cleanser and also raising attack. And this is like I said, synergy. This one's going to heavily rely on it. 3 hits on a single enemy, inflicts 5% bleed. And her normal attack does bleed, by the way, so that's also very important to note. Alright. Scarlet Blood Queen at the start of the wave. Yeah, it's getting long into this video already. Raises own attack by 20% multiplied by the number of humans or vampires. So you can get up to 100% raising your own attack. That is absolutely busted. Imagine having Scarlet Queen and Anna Rose in the same team. You have essentially 2 characters, if you have a full human team, doing massive amounts of damage. Like, you almost have it as an unstoppable team. I mean, that is crazy synergy. Automatically goes into the god tier if you could pull off a good synergy with Anna Rose, I think. But, I think she's definitely a good unit for PvP. I am not going to steer anybody wrong in that direction and say, and like, kind of like devalue her. I kind of did that for like the do not pull, but like, I'm just going to go ahead and say that she's an amazing unit if you can pull off synergies. And I'm not going to go any higher or any lower with that because, like, obviously if your team's not set, you have to synergize with your team. You have to with this unit. So let's go ahead and go back and take a look at Vampire Progenitor. We're getting there. So this one is magic blockage on an enemy, no damage, but it's all about that blockage. So as a healer, it's not bad. 3 hit on a single enemy, lowers the healing boost if it's green. Not as good actually for a healer. We don't want to see that. Each time damage is inflicted, recovers HP of a single ally with lowest HP by 50% of attack. And I think she could probably hit out damage pretty well, so you're doing a standard heal if you attack twice, so she can become a better healer. So what I want to say is that I want to say she's okay. I wouldn't say she's a bad unit, and I don't want to say she's good either, because her healing could be, like, I think her healing is pretty good, especially when there's no cooldown involved, and I think you can heal the team pretty well. I mean, you're doing magic blockage, but like, I need to see more out of her. We could debate that she's good though. Now let's go to, okay, we did Elegance now. Where are we at? We did Elegance now. We did Hottest Musician. We did Ideal Me. We didn't do Perfect Angle. So let's go for that one. When an enemy is stunned, inflict 50% damage on target enemy. Wow, that is a terrible skill. Like, that shouldn't even be there. You're better off doing nothing. Stunning waves, each time, or like 100% damage on a single enemy, further inflict stun. So at least you can get it there for 3 seconds. So she does a stun, so that's at least good. But this is a tank we're talking about. Shields damage of red elemental allies behind self for 15 seconds. Raises own defense by 30% for 10 seconds. So not even a shield to yourself, but everybody, only if it's red behind you. Like, that's not good. I mean, for red teams, probably, like, you can probably make some synergies with that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and throw her in bad, because she can, like, do, like, at least she can reduce damage by 30% for 10 seconds, like a standard tank, but, like, she has a skill that does absolutely nothing, and then maybe a stun. Like, Rose would be better to run at that point, but, like, I'd say she's bad, but we can debate she's okay. I'd say she could be okay. Okay, let's get back to where we were. Okay, Perform Wisdom. This is a different one here. We got 6-string Discord. I almost missed that one. Single enemy highest attack lowers their defense by 7%. Not a whole lot there, and a lot of low damage. Already not starting off pretty good. When damage is received, raises damage inflicted. Ooh, wow, wait a minute. That's crazy. When damage is received, raises damage inflicted by 70% for 25 seconds. So what, right away? That's actually a crazy amount of damage, and it pretty much puts that other, like, makes up for that other one. So a slice slash 300% damage on a single enemy. I mean, that's kind of crazy. This I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've been kind of sleeping on that unit, for sure. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and put her into, like, above average. That other skill actually kind of caught me off guard. This Perform Wisdom, so, like, right away, damage received right away. I mean, wow. Okay. Oh wait, moving on. Shared Silence. Now this one, I went over this one not too long ago, right? So, Beauty of Nature. Inflict stun on a single enemy with the highest attack for 3 seconds. Automatically good. We're starting off excellent. Right off the bat. Further inflicts 30% damage. Don't really need to say anything there. That's very low. Shields damage 30% of a skill user's attack on all Shadow Garden allies for 15 seconds. So you're telling me she can create a good shield, or she could create a semi-decent shield. Now, it's actually not a bad shield. It's a shield nonetheless, but it's on all allies for 15 seconds. The biggest thing is the stun here, but the rest is just additional bonuses. So that's actually pretty decent. I'd say that's a good skill if we account everything. Now we get into shared silence. What's this one about? Each time damage is received, recover own HP by 1000% of attack up to 3 times, baby. Alright. Cooldown at 3 seconds, though, which is pretty much immediate. And then shields damage, 200% of skill users up to 3. And if you have that awakened, I think it's 5 times. Absolutely nuts. I have said that so many times. You give yourself a full heal if you get damage received. If you have the enemy team just attacking your tank is not going to die. They're going to get wiped. This unit is so good. I don't even have anything to say. And wait, let's just see time to shine just for the hell of it. Raises own defense by 40%. That's more than standard. You're recovering your health again, and you're inflicting provoke. I don't have to go nowhere. I don't have to talk about this. I can go into like a 15-minute ramble about how good this unit is. I even wish that I pulled this because this is up to par with like one of the best tanks. Like I might even have trouble saying like she might even be better than Alexia, but I'm not gonna say that. That's a pretty bold statement, but she's definitely up there, probably second best or if not first best tank in the game. That is insane. She might even be the best tank in the game. I don't even know, but she's definitely like a tier 1 in PvP. You have her on your team. Wow, your tank's not dying. They have to rely on destroying your mid lane. Wow, she just has a lot of good potential. Like I said, I could probably ramble if I keep talking about that. So I'm just going to go past that. Let's go to Ida, experimenting now. This is a yellow tank, right? So 30 seconds after the start of the wave, raises healing boost, cancels all poison and bleed. Not a bad effect, and the healing boost is nice, but you have to wait 30 seconds after the start of the wave, which I don't think you're getting there, frankly, unless you have a whole setup that relies on shielding, defense, and a bunch of other crap on top of that. Like, whew, that'd be hard to synergize. I'm just saying that right now. Sleepy, shields damage 400% of a skill user's attack. This is a giant shield, keep in mind you. For 20 seconds. Inflicts provoke on all enemies for 15 seconds. So they're just attacking a shield. They're not even attacking you yet. That's what makes that crazy. Grants rest on self for 20 seconds, which is a debuff. Not good. But still, that shield damage is crazy, especially with provoke all. Provoke all is good. You want to see that on tank. Provoke all, really good. Oh my goodness. I've just seen this. Inflicts slow on all enemies for 3 seconds. Further lowers the attack by 10% for 10 seconds. Insane. Causing slow on all enemies is so good, but keep in mind if they have a first member alpha or anybody like that can increase speed, like that's just pretty much put the rest. Yeah, and then that grant rest is pretty bad because then you're sleeping for 20 seconds. Like that's actually a very considerable amount. So, but I mean you are shielding and you are provoking, so hopefully you can hit that slow on somebody. I'd say let's go ahead and put her into the above. I'd say above average, debatably great here, mainly because like I'd say we could debate great, but I'm gonna say good. She definitely performs above average for a tank for sure. Especially if she can hit the slow. If she can't, then she definitely stays above average. But if she can, maybe great, maybe. And then magic gear factor. Let's go to experiments and proof. Now this was actually a pretty good unit for me right away in the beginning. 30 seconds after the start of the wave. Terrible. We don't want that. We want that right away. Damage inflicted 35 for 30 seconds, so we don't like that. I'll try. Raise zone attack for 30% for 10 seconds, right at like whenever that procs, and then move it 300%. So because of that one's a dead skill, we're going to say that she's actually performing. We could debate okay, and I know a lot of people are going to probably say, oh, she's actually not that bad of a unit. She's okay. But I'm going to say since you have to wait 30 seconds in the start of the wave, I'm going to throw her in bad. She does okay on the damage factor, and she can raise her own attack, which kind of like makes up for it. But let's just throw her in bad just for the sake of it, because I don't think you're getting that third. If you are able to, by whatever means, good or maybe even above average, but I'm going to throw her in bad. I haven't even got to... Did I skip? I didn't even skip. Okay, so let's go to Lazy Vampire, right? Okay, so each time damage is inflicted, which is going to be often, inflict dark on one random enemy by 2 seconds. So, I mean, they might miss what they're trying to do. So this is completely RNG, especially with 2 seconds, because whenever that hits, we don't know what unit's going to go on because this random enemy for 2 seconds. And then raises damage received on one random enemy for 5 for 7 seconds. This can actually be very good, especially when it's like there's no cooldown and then you're just, you know, I feel like you have to put in a lot of hits for this to be actually worth it. And then the dark factor on a random enemy is also very RNG, but it's probably guaranteed. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed that they're going to miss, but there is a good chance that they might. But since the RNG factor is on there, I'm not going to say that's too good. 3 hits on the highest attack lowers their accuracy by 20 if it's blue, so we can already tell what kind of gimmick this character is wanting to do. Lowering their accuracy, which is only, that's a small percent too. Then recovers HP of the lowest of a single ally with the HP. Raises evasion of the first ally in line by 10%. If it's yellow, so that's actually very restrictive, and it's a heal. And this is a healer too, keep in mind you. So I mean, what is that, standard heal? Yeah, standard heal. Yeah, I guess the darkness thing. I mean, it's not bad for a healer, but like, especially with standard heal. So I think that's above average if we're talking in terms of healer. But then this lowers, like this 3 hit. I just can't get behind it. I'm gonna throw it in okay. Those status effects kind of like are keeping her in the okay tier. If that probably wasn't there, I'd probably throw her in bad. Now let's go ahead and check out the next one here. We got Run Slime. She does have a magic gear, but I think this is like 30 seconds after the start of the wave. Then I know her magic gear isn't that great for PvP wise, but I think it's good for other things. 240% on lowest defense. So you're attacking the one that's the lowest defense. So keep in mind with that, because like she can be attacking something that the rest of the team is not attacking, which could be actually very awful. Run Slime, 30% seconds after the wave, recovers own SP by 200%. Wow, that is awful. 30 seconds after, you're probably not going to get it for 1, and for 2, it's not much of a reward. So yeah, that's not good. This won't hurt. 80% on the lowest defense, and then further inflicts seal. Wow, you're just attacking the weakest one, but you're not hurting them enough to the point where it's going to actually kill them. You would need somebody else to like back you up on hitting that specific unit that has the lowest defense. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a hard no. Like the magic gear may take you up to okay. I don't know if you even get to A rank or A tier. Throw that in C. That's terrible. Oof. Magic gear may bring you to B, but like, or the magic SS plus gear may bring you to okay, but like, no, that's just bad. That's just terrible. That was painful to see. Gamma ahead of Mitsugoshi. Let's check out this one next, right? Blow you away. 2 hit damage on enemies, 150 centimeters of target enemy. Further lowers the attack by 15% for 7 seconds. So this is enemies, and then it's also lowering attack of enemies if they're close in proximity. So not bad. Not bad on that one. Each time damage is inflicted, recover SP of a random ally. Who cares? Not good. Not a good skill for PvP. Not tired yet. 80% damage 5 times randomly. Ignore provoke. I mean, I guess the who is it on for 1? I mean, I don't think it's targeting random characters, but it's going to target the tank. So it's going to hit the tank regardless. Usually the tank provokes, but unless we're talking about random units, but even then it's just a small amount of damage 5 times. Not good. This one is definitely a bad unit. You want to avoid it for sure. The attack with 15% may be a good thing, but definitely not. I mean, I feel like I could throw some of these in F tier. I mean, I might even throw her into F tier. Yeah, let's just throw her into F tier, actually. F or C, man. That was pretty bad. That was painful. I'm going to say F. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes it's really hard debating. So I think C. I don't want to subject her to that because of the magic SS plus gear. I feel like I'm hitting a lot of stinkers here. So let's go with this Gamma. We got your back. So this one raises defense of a single ally with the highest defense of 30%, so your tank, for 10 seconds. Further recovers HP if it's yellow elemental. That second part doesn't matter so much, but you're raising the defense of the tank, which could be so crucial. Like, it can go to 60% for if we're talking standard. Magic healing. This is the standard heal. Yep, this is the standard heal. And then Training Hard, which is raises healing boost of all yellow elemental allies by 50%. So, I mean, it's a pretty good healer if you got yellow teams. Like, but here's the thing, right? You can synergize this one with Rose's Retaliation, and let me just tell you, that's going to be really good because essentially, we're going to get into Rose for a minute here, but like she can do like she's going to be buffing the tank, and if it's yellow elemental, like those two are actually kind of like a hidden deadly duo that like I guess a lot of people don't really talk about or discuss. So if you have this one and this one combined together, just know that that's actually a very good synergy. I'm not putting her in F tier, by the way. She's actually performs above the par because of the fact that she can buff a tank. And I don't think it has to be yellow elemental either. Let's see, got your back. Let me just take it one more gander at it, right? Nope. Wait. Yep, it could be any tank. Single ally with the highest defense for 10 seconds. That's your tank. That's your tank right there. And it could be universal. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I'm glad I put her in A. Because, or yeah, above average. She definitely deserved it. We could debate that she's great, though. Alright, Gamma Blessed. Alright, let's check it out. Lowers healing boost of all enemies by 35%. That's not that good, I guess, in my opinion. 100% or 180% on enemies within 100 centimeters. So at least it's a centimeter game with that one. This is probably the ultimate. I did not put the ultimate in a separate category. Turn the tables. Raises attack of allies within 100 centimeters of self by 12%. Oh, at that point, you might as well just have, you know, another character that could just buff the whole team without playing the centimeters game. So this is a lot of proximities. I'm going to go ahead and say, like, this is a bad unit. Can she do a lot of good damage or not? I did not check that out. She might be F tier. This is what I'm kind of basing it off of. Is she F? No, that's the... Check it out. 180. Nah. She can raise attack, which makes her... I'm going to say we could debate C. A bad unit, but I'm going to go and throw her an F. That's actually terrible. It's a centimeter game at that point. So many other better units that you could choose. I'm just going to keep her at F. Avoid that one. But we could debate C for sure. Like, I don't think she's that bad, but, like, she's definitely bad for sure. Now, developing products. Let's go for this one. I think this is like a heavy dependence one. Lowers damage inflicted for all enemies by 12%. So that's a counter. It's a little bit different on that one. So you're going to be hitting... The enemy team is going to be hitting less. So that's not bad of a debuff, and that's a permanent debuff too. Full speed break. Standard damage. What else? Let's see it. 450% damage on a single enemy. Further inflicts stun. Wow, Gamma, you just actually climbed the ranks. She was going to go into OK, but because we just seen that, the fact that she can kind of keep the team a little bit protected and throw a stun on top of it with good damage, not bad. We're throwing her into good. Not bad at all. Okay, moving on. Now we get into my favorite character, Iris. All right. Bashful Santa right off the bat for the event one. So raises damage inflicted of all red elemental allies by 25% if partied with 4 or more red elemental allies, self included. So because this one's really restrictive, you know, I don't want to throw shade at, Iris, but I'm going to have to. It's very restrictive. You need red teams for sure, and you need 4 of them. You need 3 other red allies, including yourself. Maybe if you pair her with Anna Rose, it could be useful. There's synergy potential, don't get me wrong. Like, you can throw Anna Rose and maybe the Blood Queen. Wow. Ooh, maybe that's some potential right there. But either way, like, that it's just a lot of restrictiveness, so that's not good. We don't want to see that. Which one's the... Okay, I didn't even put Awakened here. Santa Color Lighting. Cancels all shield effects on a single enemy. Alright, game changer. She can get rid of shields and do, like, standard damage. Lowers defense of all enemies within 100 centimeters of single enemy with the highest attack by 10%. So defense, and further inflicts 100 damage. The damage I don't care for. The lowers the defense on the highest attacker. That's what we want to see now. And what is this one again? So canceling shield effects. You can do that on, like, it could be the tank. So It has to heavily play off shields. You have to have red elementals. There's a lot of restrictions. I would say, I'm not throwing my bias into this, but because there is some synergy factor... Ooh, no, we don't want Takana yet. Because there's some synergy factor, let's go ahead and put her at above average, but definitely we can debate for okay. I think she does a considerable amount of damage, so I wouldn't put her that low, and the fact that she can target the highest attacker is always something I like. But honestly, for sure, we could debate. I mean, we could debate about it. She could be good. She could be okay. I'd say maybe more okay. Or actually, let's just keep her in good. I'm gonna probably flip between those two. Now let's go to the iris that you get rid of away, the incognito date. Sign me up. Alright, flight. 80% damage on a single enemy with the highest defense. Further lowers defense by 10% for 10 seconds. So not bad. Actually, you know what? No, that's a low amount of damage. I think we've seen that skill before. Let's go to incognito date. At the start of the wave, reduces damage received for blue elemental allies behind self. Then we got rigid stance, raises your own defense for 30 seconds. So it's a pretty standard tank. I wouldn't say there's nothing special about it. Nothing bad. I mean, you could just tell it's standard. It's a lot of standardness in there. So let's go ahead and put her into okay. I'd say she's okay. All right. And then we're gonna get into the second iris, just in a minute here. One moment for myself here. Okay, all right, I'm back now. Sorry, need a little moment for myself here. So we're gonna go back to Iris Innate Sword, one of my favorites. I've been rocking that character ever since the day one, and yeah, let's just put that to rest where it is. Bushin Pierce. I mean, how can you not have the Bushin Festival Master on there? Just kidding. No, I know Shadow won her in that fight. 150% damage on enemies within 100 centimeters of the target enemy. So she just not only does the enemy, she does enemies. Next, we're gonna go into Bushin Sky Slash. We do 300 on a single enemy. Then we got Innate Sword. At the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted by 35% permanent. So she's actually not a bad unit to have. But since we've had a lot of units since day one, of course, she's actually going to fall into the above average. I'm not going to go ahead and say that she is in the S tier yet. So yeah, that's where she places there. Okay, next up we have Lambda, after the iris there. Ruthless Instructor. So if we go to Battle Command, we have the standard heal on top of raising attack for the single ally, and then raises crit rate for that single ally if it's red elemental for 20%. That's pretty good. That's a 3-in-1 on a standard heal, so I mean, that's pretty good. I've always ripped and raved about how good Lambda is. Next we have On Target. And with On Target we have it. She inflicts dark on a single enemy with the highest attack for 10 seconds. And we have it further lowers the defense by 15% for 10 seconds. That's actually nuts because you got a considerable debuff on the defense and you're inflicting dark on the highest attacker. Really good. As a healer, in fact. As a healer. Absolutely crazy. Even good for PvP. Ruthless Instructor at the start of the wave raises damage inflicted for the tank ally by 200%. If it's red, another 200%, making it 400%, and they're gonna most likely be always first in line. So that's why Lambda and Rose combination for the red tank, Rose 666, is a good combination. It's just bread and butter, pretty much. Right off the bat, obviously, Lambda is one of those units that is just very, very good. She automatically goes, and this is based on healers now, okay? This has nothing to do with over-trumping all the rest of these. In terms of healers, she is probably one of the best, because she's able to do status effects, she's able to buff the team, and then do a heal on top of that, a standard heal. So she's pretty good, especially with her magic gear, too. Oop. Okay. We got Momozuzu, or Nene. So that's the Hololive. I did have the alt labeled. So let's go with It's Go Time. This is a blue healer. Inflicts stun for 3 seconds and the Neko. You'd have to see the video on that for the Neko because the Neko is actually a little bit more complicated to describe. But either way, yeah, it's a lot of it's like 0.5 defense if it's on an enemy, so you need 2 stacks of Neko to make it a percent. And then you'd need it's like a 1% buff on like allies. That's just that. There's a lot. It's a very gimmicky character, but the stun is making it worth it, right? So and further lowers the attack by 5% if it's red. So the stun is good on a healer, always good. Like if you have a stun on a healer, I mean that's a wild card right there. That's pretty good. And then we have hashtag Shear My Energy recovers the HP standard heal and the defense. We've seen that move 1,000 times for healers, and then 10 Neko for 60 if it's blue. So I mean that gets your Neko up there. You want to get 100 Neko. Then we got the Super Neneche Solo Live, the number of Neko. So if you combine both heal or allies and enemies with all the stacks, you get the raises speed by 50%, damage inflicted by 50% of all blue elemental allies, and then ongoing HP recovery. So normally you're probably not going to hit that. I'm going to say you're probably not going to hit that, and you're the rewards are pretty good if you're able to, but I like I said, you're probably not going to get there because it requires a lot of Neko. So by the time you get there, your team's probably dead by that point, unfortunately. So, but as for a healer, it actually does pretty decent. So, where is she? Do I even? Oh, there she is. Okay. I would say I would put her in okay, but like let's just put her in average because I think her heals are not bad. And then the Neko is like a small percentage. Let's see, go time. The stun. Okay, that's why. Yep, that's why I want to place her above average, is because this is a healer that can perform a stun on somebody that's the highest attacker. That's really good. Like I said, there's some teams that already like that when you have Rose as a tank just to have that stun. That's pretty good, but again, this one does play off of blue. Even if you get all the Neko, you need blue elemental units. So it's very restrictive, but we'll throw her in good. She's debatable okay. I did miss Sid. For some reason, I missed him. So because I noticed that, I'm actually backtracking. And then we'll go on to new. So let's go to Sid NPC technique, because I missed, actually, you know what? Wow, I went out of order completely. Because we missed Mundane Man as well. We went straight to Eminence because I think it was next up. That's why. So let's just go ahead and go back to Mundane Man. We haven't talked about Mundane Man yet, and this other. Let's do NPC technique first, because I see the other new right there. So we got. Let's just go back to all characters. Just one sec here. Okay, I had to just kind of like resituate it because I missed a few in here. I should have just been solely going off of this, so I don't know how I missed this. So we have NPC technique Sid. Let's go to the NPC technique itself. So this one at the start of the wave reduces damage received. It'd be better if we were able to get more attack on there, but by 12.5% permanent, so it's not bad of a buff for the green team either. Pulled Punch, this is a 2-hit combo with enemy on the highest attack and inflicts provoke for 5 seconds. So it's nice to pull the one that has the highest attack and provoke them, so that's not bad. And then Slow and Steady, we have a standard defense up there. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this Sid is probably... the fact that it can provoke, I do like provoke. It's on a single enemy, but it's on the worthwhile one. I could say it's a good unit, A rank. We can debate, though, that it's an okay one. I wouldn't say he's any higher, though. He definitely stops here. And then let's go to the other Sid that I forgot to mention. The Legend, Mundane Man. Alright, cool. At the start of the wave, inflicts slow on self for 60 seconds and recovers SP by 450. Now, let me tell you, that SP... Nah, I'm just kidding. This unit is so bad. Inflict slow on self for the whole wave? You gotta be kidding me. You are just basically putting yourself in a very disastrous situation by equipping this unit. You get 100 damage on all enemies, a cancel an attack and a damage inflicted buff, which isn't that good. Stiff neck raises own evasion by 50% for 10 seconds. So you don't even get evasion for the whole wave. In fact, you get slow. I mean, you might be able to dodge on the coin flip, but no, there's nothing good to say about this. This is a terrible unit. I mean, we were talking avoid at all costs. We don't want to see Mundane Man. I don't think it's been a long time since I've ever seen that in PvP, and that's more of like a meme unit, a definite meme unit, one of the worst for sure. It definitely takes the cake there. Okay, now we can go back down and try to get resituated because we're talking about new next. So let's go to new, all in the shadows. I think this is one of the first SSs my account actually had. At the start of the wave, lowers damage inflicted for all enemies by 12.5% permanent. Now, if you pair this one with, I think, like that Sid we were just talking about, NPC technique, I mean, that's like double the amount, so there can be some synergy potentials there for an attacker. Raining Blades, 3-hit damage, highest attack, lowers their defense. I mean, we've seen that time and time. And then 300% damage on a single enemy. So this one is definitely going to be going into the OK tier. This thing doesn't do, or this unit doesn't do like a lot of, like, it's pretty standard stuff. It's pretty standard damage, and then it lowers like the damage received. So it's not as good. It'd be better if it was damage inflicted, so you're at least putting a buff on the team, but nah, it's an okay unit. Not bad, not good, I would say. Now, let's get to this other new, though, however. I will get to Elegantly Discreetly, but I want to do Master of Disguise first, because that one has a magic gear. So with this Master of Disguise, you're lowering the crit rate, or crit attack of all enemies by 35% permanent. Not the best. Then we got Penetrate, which is lowers defense of a single enemy with the highest defense for 10 seconds. I think that's an okay one. I mean, are you targeting the tank? So that's good. 3-hit on, and then a bleed on a single enemy. So this one actually, if we're talking about damage factor, this one's actually very bad. And then the debuffs it actually does is actually not that good, because crit attack is a very specific one that you're probably not going to run into, and then you're lowering the defense of the tank, essentially, which is good, but it's a very small percentage. So this one automatically goes into the, guess what, the bad units. But guess what? She has a SS++ magic gear for speed, which means she jumps up to good. Immediately as good as that. Literally, SS++ magic gear, you're getting speed on the whole team. And I think she does something else. I think it was a cleanse. I can't remember, but I know that the SS++ gear, magic gear for her is actually pretty good. So you want to know where she goes then? She goes into the okay units, but I'm going to say since you start out bad with her, she's going to stay in the bad. She's going to stay in the bad tier, but if you're able to get magic gear, boom, you can throw her into A, I think, above average with that speed, because speed really does make the difference. So, C, but debatable A. So, there's that. Let's go on to that new that was before that one, the Masquerade one. No, we're not. We're past that. New, Elegantly Discreetly there. So let's go to Act of Grace. Here we have healing boost on all allies by 30% for 10 seconds. Ongoing HP recovery. We don't care for these two ones. They're not really good. Further cancels 3 status ailments on each ally if it's blue elemental. So it's heavily relying on blue, but you can cancel status ailments. That is huge, especially for but you have to have the right team, right? So if your enemy team is just going based off, like, if they could just churn out a lot of damage but no status effect, there's no point of this thing. She's a very good cleanser, though. She's a really good unit. At the start of the wave, HP of allies is 200%. That's a dead skill. You're not gonna be, like, you don't. It's not. It's very wave dependent. There's no waves in the arena, so it looks like I have 2 of those for some reason. But like Femme Fatale, let's go with that one. Lowers attack of all enemies by 20% for 10 seconds. Also raises damage received by 10% for 15 seconds. Cancels all buff effects if it's red elemental. So you're going to, if you do use this one for PvP, it is going to be, you're going to want to be attacking things and people, like, if it's red. If they have a red tank, it might even be worth to throw this one in. But this one's a very situational unit. But as in terms of a healer, and I'm just solely grading this unit based on its heals, because it's a good cleanser and because it's good for blue, we can go ahead and say that it performs above average. And I think her magic gear, but like I said, we're not talking about magic gear now, but that does play into it. Like she definitely gives the above average, but we could debate that she's okay because of the blue restriction. Alright, so let's go to the Rose 666. Number 666 is what it's usually, or I like to abbreviate it as, but it's Driven to Excellence is that Rose, and this one's actually a pretty good one. Like I said, it pairs well with Lambda. At the start of the wave, raises crit rate of red elemental allies by 15% behind yourself. So that's actually, I mean, it's a small crit rate, but I mean, it's doing something for the team now, so that's actually not bad. Especially if you have something that can raise the crit rate. So there's some potential there. Resolute Ambition. Raises your own defense by 30%. This is a standard. I don't even have to say that much. Surge of Thorns. 3 hit damage and reduces SP. So, I mean, if we're taking a look into consideration with everything, like, she definitely, like, with her and Lambda is a good combo for sure, especially with the crit rate, but, like, that crit rate is small, keep in mind, so you're going to want that unit more awakened. But if we're talking about her at A0, no magic gear, no nothing, as criminal as it may sound, I'm actually going to, I'm not going to go as far as to put her in okay. She's better than okay. She's at least in the above average for sure. We can debate whether she's higher or lower depending on what you have for her, the magic gears, the awakenings. It's just very dependent on that. And what kind of team are you running? Are you running her with Lambda? Boom, throwing great. Are you running her without? Then maybe throw her lower. It just depends on your team composition. So there's that. Next we have Hidden, what's her name? Hidden Yearning? That's at least the next up there, but let's go with the Moonlit Path. Let's just keep on with what I have with my files here. Fast Heartbeat. This is an attacker too. Cancels all shield effects on a single enemy, further inflicts a 5-hit combo. That's actually pretty decent. Falls just shy of 500. Or actually, no. It falls in 400% damage. So not bad there. And it cancels all shields. So good damage, and it gets rid of shield. Raises own attack by 30%. Further shields damage, so she can create... Not only... She can get rid of shields, and she can create a shield for herself. So that's actually really good to keep in mind there. And then Moonlit Path. Raises damage inflicted of all yellow elemental allies by 30% if partied with 4 or more. So this is kind of like the Iris, if you have... But it's kind of like the same type of requirement. But then it further recovers SP by 300 if partied with 5. So you kind of want that... You don't really need... I'm going to say this right now. You don't really need the 5 if you're going to go for the SP. Because half the time you cannot hit the hidden technique in the... in PvP, but like I'm saying though, like this unit outside of PvP is actually really good, like especially like SP boosting outside of PvP is actually really good, and that's something that you want. So I don't want you guys to get confused, because SP boosting is so good outside of PvP, but it's actually awful in PvP unless you're able to hit that, and half the time you can't hit your hidden technique, so there's no point of SP. The only thing that I've seen able to hit a hidden technique is Awakening Our Sid, or yeah, Shadow, and Gamma, Shadow Festival Gamma. That's literally it. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, I guess it does change with certain other modes, but needless to say, if we're ranking this Rose Moonlit Path, she's definitely going to be going up there because Shadow Festival units just naturally go up the scale. I think she falls just shy of an amazing unit. Well, actually, you know what? No, she definitely goes... yeah, I don't want to downplay her. She goes into amazing units, especially since Lambda's up there too. But that's Lambda's a healer though, so I can't compare. Either way, no. She's actually an amazing unit because she can cancel shields and give herself a shield, and then she's actually very deadly if you have a but she's actually really heavy on the restrictions there. It's actually very unfortunate that you have that hard of restrictions on her. All right, next up, what do we got here? We got Rose's Retaliation. Now I've mentioned this unit at least 3 or 4 times now by this point. You inflict stun on the highest attacking enemy, which I've already mentioned is a very good thing. Yep, and there's payback time, raises defense of all allies for 30 seconds. I'm pretty sure that's including yourself as well, so that's actually very, very good for a tank. And then we got President Style. Oh, wait, no. Payback time. That might be the ultimate here. Yeah, I forgot to label it. My bad on that one, guys. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the ultimate there, so... Yeah, President Style is raising your own defense by 30%. And then 12.5 for the damage, raises damage inflicted for allies behind self. So that's actually very good. You're gonna want that. Ooh, payback time. Yeah, I think. I think the all allies is the ultimate actually. So this one's not bad. So, but either way, the reason why this unit is so good. Yeah, I definitely messed up on the hidden technique there. The reason why this is so good is that this is actually a more of a tank unit than usual. So she can actually take a lot more of a beating than any other tank, or a lot of other tanks, I should say. And then she does this flying kick. This stun has saved so many people from death in arena. This stun going off is so crucial, and that's why people throw her in the team. And because of that stun, and because she could take a beating, and that's exactly what we want in a tank, we automatically throw her into great units. It's very close on the... Well, since it's a tank, we're going to throw her into SS. Amazing units, because this is... We're just ranking it off of tanks now, alright? So don't look at all these other units. This is just tank factor. She goes into amazing because of that. Now, let's go ahead and check out another character here. We're going to Rose Hidden Yearning. This one does have an SS++ magic gear, but it wasn't anything noteworthy. Raises own attack 10%, raises speed by 50%, so that's actually pretty good. You do want speed. 2-hit combo on enemies within the target, so that's not bad. And then raises damage inflicted 50% until own HP falls below 90%. So this is actually a very good one because you're going to fall below 90% fairly easy. She does do a basic skill that targets 2. And on top of that, you raise your own attack and speed for 50 seconds. So honestly, you know, you could pretty much sleep on that unit if we're talking like other stuff, but she actually performs above average. Like, it's actually shocking because of those 2 buffs. So she's relying on her normal attack and another skill. She does not go past this, by the way. We can debate that she's okay, but she performs above average based on those 2 buffs because you can fall below 90% fairly easy, especially in PvP. But yeah, let's go on. Also, there will be probably some background noise, but this is a longer video, so you know it makes sense. You know, this is kind of a grind. But either way, we're almost through it here. Shadow Awakening Hour is the next one. This is a Shadow Festival unit. I like the shadows for Shadow Festival. I have both of them, and they do really good. Awakening Hour, let's check it out. When Hidden Technique is activated, after recovering your own SP, start to decrease. This is just part of the mode. I mean, there's a whole mode factor to it, and yeah, it's just part of it. So let's go to Shadow Grace. Ooh, no, that's Awakened 2. We gotta go to the first one. So Shadow Grace on its own is the first ally in line. Shields the first ally in line, which is going to be your tank. Raises defense for 15 seconds if 7 shadows. Note the pairing. You're going to want a tank that's 7 shadows. So we got to do Shadow Punishment 1 and 2. So let me check that out because there's two-parter. Raises damage received for a single enemy by 20%, and then there's 400% damage. And then the second part of that is the two-parter. When you have that mode, you get, while unleashed, you inflict 1,000% damage on a single enemy, and then you inflict 500% on all enemies. Crazy, crazy damage. You have to be, you have to have that. You have to get that hidden technique off, and it is possible in Arena now. All right, in PvP, I've done it. I have done it. You need to stay alive, and that is the whole key. You need that unit to stay alive. And if he's not alive, then it pretty much falls flat. Now, I think I've seen Shadow Grace 1. Yeah, you shield damage. Now, I didn't check out the second part of it. While unleashed, you shield damage of allies for 15 seconds, and you raise your own attack by 30% for 15 seconds. You're adding a shield to all allies, and then you're raising attack. So the potential with this one is if you pair him with Sherry, so that's double shield, like you're using Sherry's initial shield to get you by, and hopefully you can make it to where you get unleashed, because once you get unleashed, you throw another shield on top of everybody, including yourself, and then you're able to churn out a lot of damage on the enemy team. So because you need that hidden mode, right, I would definitely, he's definitely a good unit. But let's throw him, we're going to throw him into amazing units, probably, and I'd say debatably great. So we actually could keep him at a comfortable great. Borderline hitting this amazing. I'm going to go ahead and throw him into great, but yeah, I would definitely put him in either great or an amazing or great, depending. If he can hit the awakening, if he can hit the unleash mode, bam, amazing. If he can't, great. Still good without it. Next, we're going to go on to the one unit I've been talking all about is Sherry. I'm going to go ahead and let's just get that one out of the way. Sherry, Young Researcher. Let's just check this one out. Healing Medicine. Let me tell you why this one's good. Standard Heal. We have Ring Out. Raises healing boost of a single ally with the highest defense, your tank, by 150% for 10 seconds. This is a massive healing boost, by the way. This is really good. And if that ally is a green element character, so note the pairing, right? If you have Shared Silence, Epsilon, wow. That healing boost, you're healing yourself so good. Not only can she heal herself to full 3 times or 5 times, depending on the awakening, you can also improve the healing boost even more. That might be overkill. That probably definitely is overkill with this ring out, but like still you can definitely, if you don't have that unit, you're gonna basically be healing your tank a lot, so your tank is gonna survive a little bit more, and that's what we want to see in a healer. We want to see that. We definitely want to see that. So let's go ahead and close this out and then go to the Young Researcher next. At the start of the wave, raising healing boost of all green elemental allies by 50%. Needless to say, if you have, like, this is permanent, and then ring out on top of that, like, you can heal your tank very efficiently as Sherry. Outside of Arena and elsewhere, like, green. Stack this one up. If you have green Sherry on your team, preferably you should probably put a green tank in. So I'd put Sid in, for sure. I'd throw Sherry and Sid together. It would be a good combo, because it would just, you know, it would work. Or Shared Silence. I mean, Shared Silence would be the best of the two, but I mean, and then here's the thing that makes her even better. So, like, without that magic gear, here's where she stands, right? She stands in the above average. She's performing above average and debatable great units. But because she has that SS++ magic gear that not only raises the speed, I believe it's this. No, I don't think it's the speed, actually. I could be wrong there. So we're going to throw her into SS. This is must-have God tier units we're talking about here. So yeah, we're gonna keep her there because of she can add a shield to everybody. She can add a shield to everybody. I think she raises the speed too, but I can't be certain. I'm not too sure, but I know that magic gear literally makes or breaks them, and it's like meta. It's super meta to use, and I see her in a lot of teams still. I still use her in Bushin. So she's a must-have with her gear. Grind the hell out of that character because it's going to be definitely worth it. All right. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break here, and then I'll be right back. All right. So we only have a couple more characters left here. Let's just go ahead and go right into them. I'm not gonna go off that. I'm still gonna go off. I had to jump out of order just for a little bit, just because I wanted to go on to the Sherry, because she is very, very good in PvP, and I honestly could not just wait. But we're going to start from these two shadows and go down. I already did Awakening Hour, and we have him placed right there in the Great Units S tier. But let's go ahead and check out the Master Shadow. So we're going to check out the Overlord skill right here. Raises attack of all allies by 10% for 10 seconds. Further increases it by 10 if it's 7 shadows. So obviously there's some synergy you could use, some different pairings. But still, this is going to do all allies regardless. So that's awesome. You know, it's good to have a skill like that. Then we're going to go to Phantom Blade. And what this one's going to do is raises damage received for a single enemy by 20%. Further inflicts 200, and then inflicts 100 damage on all enemies. Kind of, there's a little bit of a misspelling there, but essentially what you have here is you have a skill that is targeting, you know, obviously a single enemy, but also all enemies. So whenever you have a skill that targets all enemies, that's actually really, really good. And granted, this unit actually has a lot of attack. So, and then we have this skill right here. The Master, every 5 seconds after the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted by 7% permanent. So after 10 seconds, you're at 14, and then if you're like 20 seconds in, you're at like 28% damage inflicted. So you can see where the value, you know, begins to stack. And you know, like just looking at the base skill set, you could be like, I don't know about this character, you know, within PvP, but like I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is definitely a must-have unit. This is gonna go straight into the SS plus tier, mainly because he can target all enemies, and the fact that he like, it doesn't seem like he has much damage, but trust me, with this magic, the master factor, after the every 5 seconds of the wave starts, and then not to mention, he is actually raising attack of all allies for 10 seconds. So he is starting, or I wouldn't say starting, that when that one hits, like you know, you will see it. And I think it really matters when you're going into the awakening, so like into the certain awakened states. Not that one so much. Overlord, so yeah, there's like a little bit of an increase, but yeah, obviously, you know, like I think Magic Gear has a good play into him too. I think we can like debate that he's SS, but I mean, the Master Shadow is probably one of the best units in the game, mainly for damage factor. He can't really pull off a hidden technique in PvP, but if he could, it would be one hell of a devastating attack. But I do see him in PvP. He does pretty good as a unit. I think we can place him here. It depends on how much damage you're giving him, because as soon as he gets something like a damage buff from somebody else, like he can fly off the handle pretty well and do a lot of damage. So he's got a lot of amazing potential. I am gonna have to put him in SS plus tier, just because he is like pretty much an all-rounder unit, good in PvP, good in dungeons, good in everything. I know this is a tier list for just for Bushin, but he does rock Bushin pretty well, and he's universal. And yeah, Shadow Festival, the Master, is definitely still good. Alright, next character we're going to go for is the rest of the Sherries. So we're going to go to Happy Holidays Sherry, and we're going to go ahead and see where she ranks. So at the start of the wave, you're raising healing boost of all blue elementals. That's a pretty standard one there. Then we go to Want a Cookie. This one is a standard heal. This might be all standard. Raises defense of a single ally with the highest defense for 30%. For 10 seconds, recovers it by a little bit. That one's not bad. The main thing about that Sherry is that she's able to really go for the tank and like buff the tank up from the defense, and that you usually want to see that. You know, you want your tank to be a little bit more tankier. So I would say that she performs, you know, slightly above average, I'd say. So I'd go ahead and stick her there. It would go a step down if she wasn't buffing the tank, but she is. So, and her healing game isn't bad. Obviously, she's tied to healing blue elementals way better, so you're gonna probably want a blue elemental tank if you are working her into the pairings. Okay, next up we're gonna have Sherry Subtle Romance. Now let's check out this unit here. First we have Here to Support. And with this one, it recovers HP of a single ally. This is standard heal. Should have just said that. Subtle Romance, which does, at the start of the wave, raises healing boost of all yellow elementals. So you can see there's a pattern going on here with these healers. And then we have lowers the attack of single enemy with the highest attack by 10% for 25%, or for 25 seconds, sorry. And that's actually a long time. That's actually not bad for like how much seconds it's actually lowering their attack. And then further reduces it by 8, so 18% if it's blue. I mean, that's very specific, and I feel like even if the attack is lowered for the single enemy with the highest attack, I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt less, but I mean, if they're a character that just like buffs themselves with damage inflicted like 30% or raises their own attack by 10%, you know, it could be nullified pretty quickly. So I don't think that is a good of a skill as it can be. Like obviously we've found that that this Sherry can actually do like a lot of it better, like by buffing the tank. So we're gonna probably I might even stick that into maybe bad units. I mean, because actually, you know what? She's pretty average with most of her stuff. Basic heal, but I think, and this can be good. I think this can be good because it's a lot more seconds. So I wouldn't want to misjudge it too much. So we're gonna have to stick her in okay, debatable, bad, probably. Next, let's go to the next one, which would be we already did Sherry because I kind of did that one pretty quick. We're gonna go to the next Hololive unit, Takane Louie. So let's just go ahead and check out her Bad Etiquette Arrow. And with this one, it does inflicts weakness on a single enemy for 8 seconds, as well as a 3-hit combo. Not bad. Obviously, it's targeting only a single enemy, and it's inflicting weakness, though. That is something you're going to want to note, because it is a status effect as well. Then we got Executive Full Course. Let's check that one out. This one raises attack of all allies by 10% for 15 seconds. That's good. And then raises own attack by 30% for 15 seconds. Now that is absolutely insane with that value itself. Because she's going to be doing a lot of damage. But we're going to want to see a skill that she can go. She already has one skill, which is a 3-hit combo, which is going to be pretty good when she raises her own attack. So that's not bad, and it actually lasts a decent bit. 15 seconds, not bad at all. Let's go with Hawkeye Grand Stage, and after every 10 seconds of the start of the wave, lowers crit defense of all enemies by 10% permanent. Now, I would say this one isn't a bad one, but it is very, of course, crit reliant. So, obviously, I've talked about this pairing with Zeta and Takane. It's actually a very, very good pairing. But you're also going to want to keep in note that you're going to have to survive. Like, after every 10 seconds after the start of the wave, you know, you're going to want to survive deeper into the wave to where you can get to that point where you're actually actively doing the crits. And I think it's a good thing to note that, you know, with Zeta and with this Takane, or pretty much any unit that's going to rely on crits, and, you know, what's the percentage? And there's a lot of RNG factor into it. Like, and that's the one thing I want to say. I think I'll get to it when we get to Zeta, especially. So, but this one's actually very, very good. It does have like I think it is missing like a lack of skills that you can throw out that target all enemies. But I mean, most characters are like that. So, because she can already automatically put herself at 30%, right? She could do 30%, and this is like she's pretty much up to par with Small Predator Delta here, which is very good. And she could boost other allies, so she actually sits at an S tier, but if you have the correct pairings, boom, SS tier. Amazing unit. She's actually a very amazing unit on her own, too, in PvP. Just based on how much, like, she's raising her own attack, and then she's raising attack of others. Like, that's just really good. That's just a really good stat boost.
I think I will put her at a comfortable S there, and then debatably SS for amazing. Next, let's go on to the next unit. We finally get to Victoria, Merciless Blade. Now let me tell you, this one is definitely a berserker. Let's go ahead and check out her stuff here. I have a bunch of... So you could make 2 pairings with or without Sid. If you're choosing without Sid, or actually, let's just go ahead and go into it, right? So when you're partied with Sid, you raise the damage received for a single enemy with the highest attack, 20% for 10 seconds, further inflicts 400% damage. That is nuts. I mean, the value of damage with Sid is like pretty good, and then you're also debuffing them as well to try to get rid of them sooner. And then without Sid, we're going to take a look at it, without the Awakened. Raises own attack by 20% for 20 seconds, inflicts 400 damage on single enemy with the highest attack. So either way, you're inflicting damage on the highest attacker, and I'm going to tell you what, it's probably going to be way more beneficial if this unit is not partied with Sid. Funny enough, she is just going to be flying off the handle without Sid, so we'll check the second one without or with Sid again. 150% damage on all enemies, and further inflicts seal for 3 seconds. Now this is, I think seal is on all enemies, which is going to be absolutely crazy. If you're able to not only do damage on all enemies, but also throw a status effect on top of it, that is nuts. Now let's check it. Let's check it out with without Sid. And then this is just 250% damage on all enemies. So obviously you can see the trade-off there. Seal, it's going to allow them not to use their skills, so that can actually be very helpful, almost as helpful as a stun. Granted, if you use it at the right time. Like, yeah, you could seal them up and prevent a skill, but you never know when they're going to throw out that skill. So I think I think there's a little bit of RNG base in there, but I don't know. You might want more damage, and of course you're raising your own attack by 20% if you choose not to use Sid. Next, let's check out Merciless Blade, and that this one doesn't rely on Sid at all. At the start of the wave, raises own damage inflicted by 50% for 20 seconds. Absolutely busted. This character's busted. I've been over it when it first dropped in the... Like, this character is just all-around good. And it's going to be a staple for every team that you use. No matter where you throw this unit in, like Sanctuary, World Tree, PvP, Dark Knight Duel, or whatever it's called, this unit excels in performance in every aspect of the game, and I just love it. I just love this character so much, and I'm glad that I finally was able to get her. So, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you where this one goes. This Victoria goes all the way up into an SS plus must-have god tier. She's able to target all enemies. She's able to do a bunch of damage. If she's able to raise her own attack and then do 50% damage inflicted at the start of the wave, just right off the handle, absolutely insane. Really, really busted. I'm just saying, she's going to be a very, very, very good unit for PvP. Hands down. Okay, now let's get on to our next one here. And it actually looks like, I think I went a bit out of order, but I'm just going to finish out the rest of them here. So we got Yukime next. So let's go into what she does. So we have East Wind Dance, and this is a 3-hit combo on a single enemy with the highest attack. Every hit further carries a 30% chance to inflict Dark, Seal, or Stun. And best case scenario, you get all those status effects or multiple stuns. I don't know if they stack actually, but either way, I mean, 30% 3 times. I mean, you just got to be lucky. This is very RNG based, but it's definitely better than having just a regular 3-hit combo. Either way, I mean, I think the best case scenario is you get either stun or seal. Like Dark, they could miss, but there's a chance on that. Seal just literally prevents the skill, which is pretty good, and stun prevents everything. It prevents them attacking, and then it prevents them using the skills as well. So stun is your best case scenario there, though, and you have like a 30% chance to inflict each one of them. I mean, I think this is still a pretty good move. Like, this is definitely a very good move for 3 hits. I mean, the damage is like just slightly off of 300. so it's a little bit below average, but still the RNG factor does make up for it. A bit of a higher percentage would be better though. Eternal Dance, this one is reduces damage received for all allies by 50% for 5 seconds. Now, whenever this procs, this is going to be very good, especially if the enemy team has some skills up their sleeve. So just this amount of protection, even though it's for 5 seconds, is still very, very good. This could keep a team alive and reduce a lot of damage within that 5 seconds. And then you're raising your attack by 10% for 10 seconds if it's blue elemental. So not only are you reducing damage, but you're raising the attack for your units. Absolutely great. Absolutely great for a buff for the team. Really good attacking unit that can provide buffs thus far. And debuffs. Next we're going to get into Snow White Spirit Fox. Each time damage is inflicted, shields damage 30% of the skill users of first ally in line for 15 seconds. Now this is a character that doesn't really... This is definitely like a character that is more of a wild card unit. It doesn't do... So what she's missing a lot of is damage. But what she's making it up for is in like shielding the ally, providing a debuff, whether it be like she could stun, best case scenario. But that's like super RNG. And then not only that, but she can reduce the damage of all the teammates for 5 seconds, which is very, very good. And then raise their attack. So even if that within that 5 seconds they don't get hurt as much, they still get an attack boost, which is great. So where do I have to put her on the tier list? Well, right off the bat, you could throw her into good. And we can actually debate that she's great, because I think, you know, I will leave her in great, but there is room for debate that she could be placed into good. I think great is as far as she goes though, just because of the RNG factor. It's not like it's guaranteed. Now if it's guaranteed, that's a game changer right there, or if it was a higher percentage. Either way, this unit is still pretty good. I would go ahead and put her into great just because of what she could do. She could reduce a lot of damage. The only thing that she doesn't really do is damage, so you're going to have the rest of your team doing a lot of damage, and that's where those buffs are going to really come into play. Keep in mind, though, like, she definitely falls short if your team is getting just absolutely mowed down. And the damage reduction that you provide for your team is just simply not enough. You might want to consider switching up the strat at that point, because attack is probably valued more over defense. Alright, next we get into Zeta, Moonlight Shadow, and she does have a SS++ magic gear. I would like to, so she probably gets a tier upgrade just because of that. But her kit herself, let's go ahead and take a look. 80% on single enemy with the lowest defense. Terrible. Throw, you know, why? Further poisons that unit for 10 seconds. I mean, at least there's poison, so that's good. Lunar Bicycle. 3 hit damage on single enemy, so we already have 2 conflicting skills. She's attacking lowest defense, and then she's attacking whatever the first in line is, I believe, with the standard. And then we have Moonlight Shadow, which is lowered healing boost of single enemy with lowest defense by 50%. Like, this is just not... like, you're targeting the weakest unit again, so... that just makes it really bad. If you're targeting the weakest unit, which it could be the healer, I would think. It could be the healer in most cases. So we can go ahead and put her straight into, like, literally the bad tier. I'm not kidding. Like, she's conflicting her own attacks. She is attacking the weakest unit, and that is going to not synergize well with pretty much anything, because she's off doing her own thing, attacking a very specific unit, while the rest of your units are attacking something completely different, probably the front line. So, in a sense, you know, you want to fixate all your damage on either the tank, or you want to fixate you want somebody to carry out damage on the rest of the team, or all the team altogether, or using like the centimeter target attacks, so you can at least target more than one enemy. But specifically singling out the enemy with the lowest defense is pretty bad. Now the only reason why I that's not the case for people who attack the highest attacker is because The highest attacker is more of a priority to get out of the way. You definitely want them dead. And I think it doesn't matter like the amount of I mean it kind of matters the amount of damage you have on the highest attacker, but like stunning the highest attacker is probably the single most best thing you can do when it comes to specific targeting. If you can target the person with the highest attack and pull off a stun, that is so valued in PvP. It is unreal. Okay, now that we placed her in that category, let's go to the other one, the Remember Your Duty Zeta. So we have concentration here, and that raises own crit rate by 50% for 10 seconds. Now that is a coin flip, and she could actually pull off some pretty decent crits. I have actually seen it. It's pretty nice. Flying dual blade inflicts 120% damage on enemies within 100 centimeters of target enemy. That's actually not bad because, I mean, you're targeting multiple enemies. It is a very low amount of damage, so, but I mean, the crit factor may make up for it if you're landing the crit. Now, at the start of the wave, you're raising damage inflicted by 50% for 20 seconds. Good amount of time, lot of damage inflicted. So, I mean, if you take into consideration the damage inflicted and the crit rate. Now, this is RNG, so I'm not going to go ahead and put this any higher than what it is, but like it without you really have to be landing that crit. So I would go ahead and put this one into a good unit and like it excels above average because even without the crit if you're not landing it, I mean, I think eventually cuz it is coin flip, it is a lot of RNG, but if you're landing the crits, it's going to be devastating to the other team. It's going to hurt a lot. But we can debate that she's okay just based on RNG factor. But she does do 50% damage inflicted for 20 seconds. And like I said, the first 20 seconds, or like I'd say the first 30 seconds of the wave is like the most important, crucial part of like PvP. So that's why I'd say that she performs above average. We could debate she's maybe higher as well. But like, let's go into this one next. We got 6th member Zeta, and this one is the one that I like to boast about a little bit. So there's a 4-hit damage combo, which goes to 200% on the last enemy in line. Which, granted, that kind of sucks, but I mean, it is a healer. So it's going to probably target the healer there, or it could target, because I know there is some attackers that actually get put at the back for some reason, just based on their positioning. So it really depends on who's that last enemy in line, you know? If it's Sherry, then that's great. Let's just say that. Put Sherry to sleep. Like, we don't want her. We don't want her, like, acting at all. Further, put sleep on her for 10 seconds, and then that's good. And it's like good damage, and it does a status effect, and it takes out one of the members. Unfortunately, probably going to be the healer most of the case, or most of the times. And then we have 6th member. 10 seconds after the start of the wave, raises crit rate of allied attackers by 5%. The reason why that's so good is because it's all allies by at least 5%, and then if you raise your crit rate, you know, it's 5% if it's green as well, so it's 10% if it's green. So you're really going to be wanting to pair her with green units, so that can make it a little bit restrictive, but still you get a crit rate nonetheless. Now you'd have to get pretty far in the in the wave to do like she can go to guaranteed crits if she's A1, which makes her, like I always say that, like last 10 seconds of the wave you get guaranteed crits. But here's the thing, you're not going to get to the last 10 seconds of the wave, but you still have RNG factor building up with crit rate. And if you're able to land any of those crits, or your allies are able to land any of those crits, and if your allies can like raise the crit rate, then you got yourself a very deadly team. So now if we take that last Zeta that has 50% crit rate, and then we throw this Zeta in, we automatically have, like, she's not green, so that's going to suck, but we have, after 10 seconds, 5% more, and then 5 again. You know, she can, like, continuously do a little bit more, and then other people might be doing crits as well. But, you know, obviously situational. It depends on how far your team can last. So you're going to be wanting to build a team that can actually take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage, so, and it can be hard to find that balance, but either way. Venom Storm, we got 3 times poison on all enemies for 30 seconds, and inflicts 100% damage. So that, right there, is why she goes straight. She climbs straight all the way into the SS. Plus, the reason why is because of the poison factor. She's able to throw and poison, when it comes to poison and bleed in PvP, absolutely nuts. They hurt so bad. So having that is really good. On top of that, like, I think the crit factor is not going to be as good, but she can do a decent amount of damage. She can buff the other units, and if they're able to land crits, very devastating. And then she's able to put poison on everybody for a long time. 30 seconds. They're going to be poisoned the whole time. That's going to be crazy. So that's why she gets put all the way up to the top there. Next we have Zeta Snowy Rendezvous. We got Happy New Twirl. And raises attack for all T allies. I'm going to say it again. By 30% for 20 seconds. Now this is a very specific synergy. And then you further raise the speed by 30% for 20 seconds. Obviously, if you're able to pull this off, this immediately goes into SS amazing units. I don't even have to like put it, it's not even any room for debate. Like her herself, and this is only allies, right? So just keep that into consideration. So you have to have a T ally, otherwise this is useless. Sacred Rope Spin inflicts 200% on a single enemy. Further lowers crit defense by 100% for 10 seconds. Note that. That is important. Especially, you want to synergize your team around T allies, and you want to synergize it around crit rate. So that means if you have Zeta on your team, the SF one, you can do, when you hit somebody with a crit, it's going to probably kill them. It's going to smite them very hard. So that's actually really good to note there. A little less than standard damage for the damage side though. And then we have Snowy Rendezvous. At the start of the wave, raises speed of all T allies by 30% permanent. Further raises crit rate by 30% permanent. Oh, well, you look at that. At the start of the wave, you have 30% chance on the crits. Wow. Now pair that with Zeta again. SF Zeta. You can tell where the crits are going to be coming from. And then you have Takane on top of that with crit rate, even though she's not a T ally, but she's able to bring more crit rate. You know, obviously think about that for a second. Like, crit rate's going to be very important for this, and pulling off crits are going to be very important. But this, if you have a good setup here with T allies, I think you just immediately sweep. I think that's very hard in PvP to go around. Like, it's very hard. It's very, very hard to get around that, especially with how much speed, how much attack, and how much a crit rate she's giving the allies. It's hard to factor in. Obviously, with your teams, like, if you don't have a lot of T allies that are good, throw it into S. Not as good. But if you're building your team around T allies and you actually have a very, very good setup, like Takane, you have SF, Zeta, you have that type of team, like especially this duo and a couple more T allies, like really, really good. Maybe even throwing Takane in for extra crit rate. This can go into SS plus immediately. But I'm going to go ahead and put this into SS amazing units right here. But yeah, she's really, really good. Now let's go ahead and check out the last Spy Life Zeta. I'm very familiar with this one. We have Easy Target. And with Easy Target, it's a 2-hit on a single enemy with the lowest defense, and 3 times poison for 30 seconds. Further lowers attack by 15% for 10 seconds. Wow, this would have been a very good skill if they were targeting the person with the highest attack. That would have been nice. But either way, you're probably going to kill somebody really quick, or whoever's with that lowest defense, because they're going to go down pretty easily. So, I mean, like it says, it's Easy Target. Alright, next we have Knife Trick. And with this one, raises own speed by 30% for 20 seconds. Raises attack by 30% for 10 seconds. So this immediately, gives her a lot of edge and makes her a very, very good unit. you know? So, just because of that, like I said, speed is so essential and she's raising her own attack. Now let's check out the spy life, right? Each time damage is inflicted, inflicts poison on all enemies for 30 seconds. There's a cooldown of 8 seconds. Now you just turn this character around immediately. Each time damage is inflicted, so aka often. This is going to be a very, very good unit for PvP. I've seen it used. It's like the poison factor could be absolutely nuts. I would go ahead and throw her into great units for that S. She could be debated maybe at the. I think she might stop here. There's obviously some room for debate there. It sucks that she's targeting specifically somebody that has the lowest defense, but she makes up for it with the boost she gives herself with speed, and then also the poison on all enemies is just very, very crucial. She could go higher, I think, maybe, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep her at S tier. And then I did forget Lambda in my files here. I'm pretty sure I have her, though. She's outside of here. So let's go ahead and check this one out. That's probably why I didn't see her right away. Here we have Bitter Patsier. So at the start of the wave, raises damage inflicted by tank ally by 200. So 400% if you have yellow elemental. You're going to have to want, or sorry, you're going to want to put our yellow elemental in there. But that's no problem because you can synergize it with Rose's retaliation right away, making it very, very good. Heart Whip, we have this one. Inflicts 50% damage on a single enemy, and then further inflicts weakness for 8 seconds, so not bad, and it's probably going to target the tank, so that's not bad at all either. And then recovers HP, standard heal, raises attack, though, it raises attack for 10 or for 10% for 10 seconds, and then raises crit attack by 20% if it's yellow elemental. So, you know, obviously really good for yellow teams. You may not have that, especially if you're mixing teams, which happens a lot in PvP. And let's see here. That's about it for that. She has a standard normal attack. This is Lambda we're talking about, and if we're talking about in terms of specific heals, like she does have a standard heal that does a bit more. I would go ahead and I put Lambda way up here, and she shares a lot of Lambda's kit, besides she shares a little bit of the crit aspect, but in terms of healers, right? I think she performs at an S tier, debatably maybe A, but I don't know. I wouldn't go. I don't want to put her below S just because she shares a lot of Lambda's kit. Lambda can do more status effects and another thing that's additional, so she doesn't go as high as SS. So I'm going to put her in the S tier for PvP. And that's about it. That is all the characters here. Let me just... Okay, so I zoomed out as much as I could here. So here's the top of the list. That's where your characters are at. And then slowly making our way down to the bad side of the list here, so we can get the last couple of units in there. That is my full list for the Bushin tier list thus far. So obviously this kind of tier list will be updated, and there might be a couple like shifting around. Like this tier list may not look the same. But I think for the most part, a lot of these units are going to stick to the same because we're not getting like changes to the unit or themselves or the magic gear. So a lot of this probably is going to stay the same. I don't think I see anything changes, any big changes. Besides the thing, so there's two things I want to talk about. One, magic gear, like I said, can make or break a character. So we have somebody at, like, let's say, like this, I guess, this healer Sid, which is just very bad on heals and everything. Let's say he gets a magic gear that says, raises the team's speed by 100% of all allies when he dies, and then also gives the team a full heal, and then on top of it, shields all allies by 500%. That would be, but like, they could do that with that character, and they make it, like, severely busted. And if that was the case, everybody could be running Sid, because let me tell you something here. Not everybody was running Sherry in PvP, and then as soon as she got her magic gear that I'm pretty sure can raise speed with like either like the additional effects that you could put on it or whatever. But either way, the biggest factor with her is the shield. Like nobody was using Sherry that much in PvP until she got that, and then she also heals the tank pretty well. So I mean, it's kind of hard to beat with healer in terms of healers. So this is the full tier list. The second thing I want to talk about is a lot of these characters build off of each other by like attaching themselves to an element. So like I know in my notes I'd put, you're gonna want to work on team synergy. So if there's something in the tier list that doesn't make sense, obviously I've said there's like they could place in certain ranges. Like for example, like, oh, you could say, oh, Claire's not bad. Claire's actually like top tier. She's at least S. Well, I mean, we can debate that for sure. And then if you have the magic gear to back that up, if you have the awakening to back that up, and if you have the team synergy to back that up. Obviously, if you can boost that, you can boost pretty much a lot of these units in a way to make them actually really good. It's possible. You could take an okay or a bad unit and turn it around, even with the magic gear. Do I suggest that? No, I really don't. I would probably stick with the ones that are like really good and towards the top and try to build your teams off of these type of units if you have them. Obviously, so that's what you want to go for. So that's another thing. And then lastly, like it's easy to build your team around a certain element. So some of you might be tempted to be like, okay, well I'm gonna run a team of full green in like my Bushin festival team, and then like they're gonna be boosting each other and it's gonna be a lot of damage. Like, okay, that might be true, but you're gonna have to. Your opponent is probably gonna pick a full red team, as would I. If you're running a full green team, I'm gonna pick full red, and it's gonna be an immediate counter. So what you could do in your team synergies is like I've seen a couple strategies, and one of them is this: if all your attackers are, let's say you have red attackers, right? So somebody's gonna want to pick a blue attack. Somebody's gonna want to pick blue attackers to take out your red. You could put up a tank that is gonna be like yellow and will block a lot of that damage that green will be doing. So the green, like it's gonna take longer for the green to take out the tank. Now, this plan can be turned into shambles very quickly if they break through the tank and destroy your mid lane, which would be absolutely awful. So when it comes to building your teams, you're going to want to make a good mix. Don't get me wrong though. If you create your team around a certain element, like have a full red team, it's very, very possible to have a red team wipe out a full blue team. I've seen it done. It can happen. You can have a full red team and wipe out another team, even though you're not strong against that element. As long as you have enough boost to back yourself up, you could potentially get rid of them. I would suggest mixing colors in your team and try to synergize with through multiple colors if you can. Obviously, you want to go for the most buffs, um, but when it comes to PvP, generally you're gonna want to like mix a couple units for sure, unless the buffs are like really great. Like obviously, if you're running, let's say Iris, that can raise damage inflicted if you're with red elemental allies, and then you have Lambda Rose combo, bring in crit rate and a lot of heals towards the red units. You can go in that way, and then you have like, I don't know, Anna Rose. You could run a lot of different combinations, but I can go into combinations and synergies all day. Like I said, if you want to leave your like a PvP team that you think is like really really good, you can in the comments below, obviously. But that's all there is to it. This is how I kind of rank all the characters in the Bushin Festival um, as of current and what I have. So obviously there's a couple of Shadow Festival units and there's a couple of event units that are not on there. Why? Because I don't have them. I don't have the files for them. I don't have the info that I could use. I even had to pull these two screenshots um, from somewhere else that I found in game, and essentially use them. I had to use these two because I know they're good for PvP, so I wanted to include them as well if you have this Shadow Festival unit. Obviously, there's some other ones like, like SF Beta, SF Epsilon. I can't give you that info, but let me tell you what. Pretty much generally any Shadow Festival unit is going to be bouncing around SS plus tier or SS tier. Maybe depending on the unit, they may fall into S tier for the Shadow Festival, like this one here, Awakening Our Shadow. Obviously, there's some room for debate that he could be SS tier in my ranking of the tier list. You know, everybody else's ranking may be a little bit different, but that's all I wanted to say. Yeah. So, Vigo, signing off.